That is accurate. You are the first. Let me pull some stuff up here and give you guys a Cunnilingus. How's it going? How was your first day? If you don't mind me asking. Let's pull up our little streaming default here. Pull up our stuff. Got a lot of stuff done today. I wrestled this morning. I ate pretty good today. Worked all day. Just taught a college class. Now we're hanging out, waiting for the wife to get home because she was hanging out with some of her girlfriends doing some bingo or something, which you're not gonna catch me doing too much bingo. Let's pull some stuff up. Oh, Rob catches me right as I come on. Right as I get on here, Rob catches me. How's it going, Rob? Yeah, hopefully you get some good rest in and stuff. I appreciate it. I appreciate you bringing people over. We just started out. I'm not even throwing my green screen up because we're just hanging out after. I was mentioning I got up at 4:20 this morning. I go to the gym. I wrestle for a little bit, and then come home, work. Although, since Phoenix doesn't switch times with everybody else, now all my meetings are back. So all my meetings are back an hour. So that's kind of nice. So like what used to be a 7 o'clock meeting is now 8. But it's actually funny. It had a conflict, so now it moves to 9. So that's even better. I love it. So links available. Have no fear. Both streamer and I are here. Nice. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming by. We're not working too hard. I'm actually setting up my environment still a little bit. I was pulling up some stuff, and I have my monitoring going on. There's my dog ranger downstairs, and then just kind of my lab environment as we kind of talk about stuff. No, Phoenix doesn't switch time like the rest of everybody does. Neither does Hawaii, in fact. And I was in Hawaii, and I came back on Saturday, and then Sunday morning our time didn't change. So that was kind of nice because it's already weird. If you guys ever go out to an island like that, it's different. Like, so I was getting up at like 2 and 3 a.m. because there was no reason. Like, I was very used to. I normally get up about 5 a.m. here in Phoenix, but like 2 a.m. was right about our 3-hour difference, so it was wild. So yeah, it was. Yeah, Phoenix doesn't move. There are some parts of Arizona that do move though, but not the major Phoenix, Flagstaff, or Tucson areas. No, we don't move. So what are we doing today then? I put down that we were just reviewing some of our old Linux systems administration stuff. So we have a Linux systems administration course. We're 8 units in now, so 8 weeks that we've gone through it, and it's all up in the Discord. It's all free. Anybody that wants to go in there and play with it can. Oh, hold on here real quick. I got to see why I think I got to refresh this screen up here. Hold on. I don't know if YouTube can see me. Hold on a second here, guys. If YouTube can see me. Oh, there it is. Okay, so YouTube can see me. That's good. All right, I just want to make sure you guys could see. No control byte. I've had a few different note-taking apps that I've pulled up. This one is one that I've been using lately called Logsec. I kind of like it. You will still see me pull up often. You will still see me pull up my Notepad++ because this is something that I still use. Like professionally, I kind of feel like sometimes when I do stuff professionally, I fall into my very, very specific habits. And one of them is I always use Notepad++ for like work type stuff. I also just got told I'm probably going to be out in Baltimore for a little bit doing some stigging on a compute cluster in a SCIF. So if you guys have ever worked in a SCIF, that's SCIF, a secure compartmental information facility, something like that. But anyway, so I'll be out there in Baltimore doing some stuff with that. What was my favorite part of my trip? Killa, probably just spend time with the wife. So what happened was, I'll pull it up real quick. I showed you guys some pictures the other day, but I can pull up. Let me pull this up here. So, island of Maui. S-L-A-N-D of Maui, right? So, when you go to Maui, look at a map of Maui, right? I'll just show you guys what we were basically doing there. It looks like this, yep. And you land up here. This is where the international airport is. And then what we did was we got our rental car and stuff. And then this is about a 5-mile scale here. So That's about a little over 5 miles. That's probably about five. That's another five. That's five. So it's probably like 20, maybe 25 miles over here to Lahaina. And Lahaina is where there were some fires last year, right? But we came in, and then I was working over here in this area, over in Kihei, right? But the point is, we were coming out of Kaluli and going over here, and that was what we did the first day. And then I drove every day over to here, and it was about a 35-minute drive. It wasn't bad. It was a really nice coastal little highway and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I was not, but here's the thing: I was not really vacationing. I was working, so I was training people out at a high performance compute center. So I was coming in here and then going back over here, and then the wife was just kind of hanging out all day, and just she actually worked remote for her school district job for like 4 hours a day, and that was kind of cool for her. So probably the best part. So the question was what was the best part, and the best part was probably just hanging out with the wife, like just when we'd get done, we'd go and just hang out and do different stuff. So it was good. Yeah, it was super expensive, but that's not that big a deal because, obviously they flew me out and then I flew the wife out. So that's fine. Hotel was covered and then the car was covered. So that worked pretty good. Hey, thanks for the follow. Felipe, hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We are not working too hard today, and some of the guys were asking me stuff. And then I have, stuff that I posted in the Discord. I've never been to Maldives. Yeah, Killa, they do some kind of per diem with work, but I don't really put anything like that in. But I'll tell you, we went to this Mama's Fish House place, and Mama's Fish House is the most expensive meal I've ever gotten in my life. I knew it was going to be about $100 a plate. We went above that. And then I told my wife, I was like, well, congratulations. You're by far my most expensive date. How's the internet? Internet was fine. Phone worked fine. Internet was fine. Everything was good. Didn't have any problem with... It was obviously very easy to just traverse this highway that just goes along thing. Also, I didn't know this about Maui, but Maui, when they describe it, this is the head here, this is the shoulders, this is the neck, and this is the face and the forehead. So if you ever hear somebody talking about that kind of stuff, here's the chin and the neck, right? I mean, now that you see it, it kind of looks like a person looking down, doesn't it? Kind of looks like somebody's crunched over their keyboard, really. But that's how they actually describe. So if you're ever, talking to somebody on Maui and they're like, oh, I was in like the upper neck area or whatever, this is what it is. Do I run my own consulting company? No, I work for a company called Redline, and I do consulting projects all over, mostly with the U.S. government and different colleges and people that need high performance compute stuff. I work on a lot of Linux. I'd say currently right now, at any given time, I'm working on about 10,000 to 20,000 Linux boxes that I kind of am doing some type of maintenance or building of. But I have been as high as 100,000 in my career. But right now I'm probably only at about if I were to really think about it, 6,000, 2,000, 200. Yeah, probably a little over, maybe like 10 to 12K right now that I'm working on. Both. A lot of high performance compute are real physical boxes, but then sometimes there's virtualization aspects to them depending on what you're doing, and sometimes there's things that look like virtualization because you're doing containers. Like in the tool that I use often, and I show you guys this in my home lab, there's a tool that I use called Werewolf. And Werewolf does all of its provisioning through containers, but then it's stateless to the machines. So like if you guys have been on my machines here, let's just go here real quick. Some of you guys have been... let's just go here, and then let's just go look at like uptime on all my boxes real quick. So I have 19 boxes that the Professional Linux users group can get into. I still teach at a university. Yeah, I teach at DeVry. So I just got done teaching DeVry a little bit ago. Now I'm hanging out here with you guys and doing a little bit of Linux, not working too hard. Again, kind of that's a theme of me. So, Kelly said, walked away in the middle of the talking. Roommate just had surgery and needed help getting up. Oh, that's terrible. No, that's fine, Killa. You didn't really miss anything. I was just telling you the wife was the high point of the trip. I got to hang out with her. I have never been to Hawaii, but she's been there twice, and neither of us have been to Maui though. She's been to the Big Island and I think Honolulu. So, 5-shot 97. How do you get a career like me? Well, you gotta kill a guy. You gotta go to prison and get a shine job on your eyes, right? Who knows who that is? Who said that? Yeah, that's how you get eyes like those. Um, these terrible eyes that I have. No, that guy, his eyes could see in the dark. If you recall that. Um, Great character, by the way. I always loved that character. Yeah, Riddick. Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Amber Walker over on the YouTube side? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're chilling today. We're not working too hard. I was telling the guys I got up and I wrestled this morning, which is my sport, right? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I worked all day and just kind of hung out and did stuff, around the house. And then I taught, and then now I'm here hanging out with you guys. Pitch Black so that came out while I was in basic training from the Army. So that came out in the end of '99. And I remember that we got a pass on Thanksgiving for like 4 hours, and we could go out. And everybody was informed, do not drink, do not whatever. And we went and watched that movie. I was only 18, so I couldn't drink even if I wanted to. But guys went out and got drunk, and then came back, and then we never got another break. We never got another pass again for the entire time I was in basic. So that was fun. Well, they call it basic, but in the Army, it's if you go to like infantry school, it's called OSUT, one station unit training. But OSUT, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But why did this stop spinning over here? Let's get this thing spinning again. Probably because I had that other one up. So, yeah, that's fine. You guys don't have to do any of that thanking me stuff. But Atticus, now, how's it going? Yeah. You guys call me Senpai, and I'll call you guys Kohai, right? Like, no, I'm just kidding. All that. I don't know where I'm going in Baltimore, actually. It's going to be a skiff. So, but here's the thing: you like anytime, you guys know this, if you do anything with the government, anytime you go to a city, there could be a skiff built into some building in the middle of the city. I don't know. I actually literally don't know. I don't even know. I've never pulled up even a map of Baltimore. I don't even know where I'm going to be. So, like, I just know that I have to have all my shit together for doing my STIG process. I've shown you guys how we STIG servers and harden servers. And actually, fun fact, so I was building the training out for this next week, and the topic of discussion is Dockers and K3's Kubernetes. But one of the things I try to keep doing as we build the training out is keep touching on other topics that kind of align. And one of the things I might make you guys do this week is hardening the systems. Although that is in one of the later weeks. Hold on, let me look. Maybe I'll wait until system hardening to make you guys do. Like, I'm going to make you guys harden these boxes. I'm going to make you guys, well, the people that are doing the course, I'm going to make you guys harden the server. I'm going to make you run a STIG benchmark against it to see how configured it is and see what we can change. Hopefully Annapolis area, but nice. And so my wife has a goal. My wife's a little bit older than me. Not much, but a little bit. And she has a goal to hit all 50 states before she's 50. And I think she's down to like the last 5 states or something. Let's see. She's got to go to Montana. And for sure she's got to go to Alaska. But Alaska's going to be the last one. We're going to go on a trip. We're going to go cruise a month before her birthday. Before her 50th in a few years. And you might say, why are you going to go a month before her birthday? Why not right before? Well, what if the cruise crashes? Or what if some bullshit? What if they cancel it? We're just going to go ahead and go and just fly up there and get her there. So 5shot 97. Yeah, I put the streams on YouTube. Yeah. Yep. Let me put this on multi-stream so I can see more. I can see your chats over here. But Atticus now. So quick question. On your channel, you have a playlist called Linux Beginner Start Here. Should I go through that before doing this course to completion? I'm coming from a Windows background. So Atticus, what I would tell you for this, for people that are like, where should I do the course or should I do whatever? This is, for me, for Linux in general, I think the most important thing you can do is get hands on the system, right? So most important thing I think that you can do is go in here, get on Killer Coda, which is free. And I tell you guys all the time, my stuff's free. You can use my stuff. You can find somebody else's stuff. There's another guy that teaches Linux, Powell Piawaz. But I have stuff in here that you can go and do 100% for free. And you could probably spend, if I had to guess, probably about 60 hours in here on like all my Linux labs and working through the stuff. And you can ask questions in the Discord. That's what I would do first, right? Because sometimes, and this is something I tell my college students, maybe you go all the way through this and you just grind it out and you do it, and then you go, I hate Linux more than the the fires of 1,000 suns. I hate Linux, right? Well, wouldn't that be really cool to learn for free and just like spending a little bit of your time in these things before you go spending money? I even tell people, don't even buy my book. I got a book out there. Don't even buy the book. Go do this stuff and find out you hate it first, and then we can go be a network engineer, or we can go be whatever. I started off as network engineering and I didn't love it. I do still teach. I do teach IPv6 stuff, Killa, but I can show you some cool IPv6 stuff that's free training. I tell you guys this all the time. We've got a section in our Discord, right? Discord's free. Yeah. You guys call me Senpai, and I'll call you guys all Kohai. I'm just kidding. There was actually a funny thing. When I learned what the word Kohai was, somebody actually said it to me in a very funny manner, and I'll explain it if you guys want. But it was really funny. So beginner start here. Here's an IPv6 cert that you guys can do that's free. This company, they teach you all this stuff about IPv6 for free. So I'm gonna link this to you guys. Because I had a question from Killa about IPv6. That's where I would go spend time with IPv6. Yeah, Killa, I'm good enough with IPv6 to show you around it. I understand the headers and that kind of stuff, and I understand how it works. But I don't work in that space often. I do some dual stack stuff, but I don't like specifically build or engineer IPv6 into anything currently. So, yeah, Killa, was that you asking questions on Discord? I saw some questions earlier about it, but yeah, I don't have an expertise there that I would know it more than probably anybody else. But that's a good place to go get some resources and stuff. Any advantage of using IPv6 exclusively for home lab? Well, you don't have to worry about setting up running out of IP addresses anymore. I guess that's the one advantage. Yeah, it's not too bad though. I mean, there's that. Have you ever heard people doing classified? Yeah, 5-shot. I used to work in, when I worked at Lockheed Martin, I worked quite a bit with researchers. I worked there for about 5 years. I have a top secret clearance, but it's lapsed because I'm not really working there. My PhD thesis, well, I'm not really getting a PhD, I'm getting a DBA, but it still is going to be a doctorate. My topic is not classified, and it deals with... It deals with the efficacy of red team activities. I think a lot of people do red team activities just because everybody, like he was doing red team activities, so I started doing red team activities, and he was doing like honeypotting, so I started doing honeypotting, and then they were doing pen testing, so I started doing pen testing, and I really just don't see the efficacy in it. I used to run a red team, and everybody's doing activities, but nobody's actually, I don't. Some of my research questions deal with, do those activities actually reduce the incidence of breaches? And I am actually probably going to posit that. So my first hypothesis is that they do not, and then my null hypothesis, which would be what I would have to accept or reject, would be that they don't affect that. But I really, or that they do affect it more than I think, but I don't think they're going to. So. I like networking, working with Juniper Sophos, but I also like programming. Yeah, well, Amber, you got to find what you can do all day, right? Like, I think that's a big thing. Sorry about that. I tell engineers all the time, like find something that like you can do. I didn't love programming either. Like I can program, but I don't want to be a software engineer. That just never seemed tenable to me. I can put together a basic web page, but I can't do like web design. I'm colorblind, and I just don't. The spatial stuff doesn't work for me. So, Cuddlingus, when my dissertation's done, it'll be public. Yeah, so you guys will be able to look at it. Yeah, I can actually. I was thinking of doing Sunday night streams where where I'll actually just be working on that stuff. But it depends how much I'm hanging out with the wife. So. There was one other question I think I missed. That's fine. Anyways, Darsh Spending. I have a question when it comes to server clustering versus application clustering for Nginx, PaceMaker, CoreSync are usually used, but when it comes to database, what is the logic behind it? So, I've seen a couple of different types of clustering on databases over the years. Obviously, there's vendor like proprietary ones like Oracle, and they just kind of, Oracle's doing the Oracle's thing, and you just have everything up, and it's active, and those kind of things, and active, passive, and then failover. But what I can tell you is they're doing their own proprietary stuff. But then you go look at like MySQL, which is owned by Oracle, and how do most people that I know do their own databases? Well, typically what you would do is you would have your application database that can handle the load of whatever you're doing, and then you would have like a Pilot Lite, which would be a database that was on, and then you would just be maybe shadow copying the data over as you could, and then that data would be copied. And you say, how often do I copy over my data? Well, you copy over your data in whatever your business continuity plan says you do based on your recovery point objective. So if your recovery point objective is this database has to be, if this database goes down, we have to be able to recover it within 3 hours. Well, that means you need to be sending data over at least every 2 hours. And some of you might immediately go, 3 hours? Oh no, I need this thing like to the second. And I go, well, you probably should pay for something a little more than like just a shadow copy out of a database or whatever. There's that. There's also some people like to do like CTDB, and CTDB is you just have two nodes, and then they are clustered at the disk at like the block level, and then you can have both of them active, and that's something that you can kind of do if you want it as well. I need to find another start up so I can float and do both. I love that. Nice. Yeah, Amber. There's definitely. I mean, there's a lot of churn in the industry right now. I think. Like, and I stay away from politics. I always stay away from politics on stream, and I always stay away from politics in the classroom because I'm not a big fan of being political with my college students. I'm there to teach them hard engineering. I'm not there to teach them anything else about life, right? Like, as my dad used to say, you don't go to school to make friends, right? Like, I go to do that. But where I was going with that is I think there's a lot of uncertainty in industries until certain things are settled. And here in the U.S., something should hopefully be settled tomorrow. But if it's not settled tomorrow and it keeps going for weeks and weeks, there will be a lot of uncertainty with businesses. And businesses hate, markets hate uncertainty, businesses hate uncertainty. It's just, it's terrible. It's terrible for businesses because it's the same way with engineering. I want to, you guys always hear me talk about like controlling my systems and controlling the software packages that come into my system, and then controlling how I deploy things. I need to have like a certain amount of control, almost like almost like I'm psychotic about it, right? Like I need to have control as an engineer, and businesses are kind of the same way for good decision making. So not that maybe that analogy is perfect, but anyways, my point is when this thing gets settled in the next few days, hopefully in the US, that should hopefully make businesses more whatever. I will tell you guys the one political thing I ever say to students, if you want to, I'll get myself in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. I try not to talk politics, but sometimes like when students are leaving, they'll ask me like, what was your political whatever, and then I'll say my one thing, and then they get what they get out of it. But all right, so here's yeah, this is where I would start in the Linux world. All right, where's this? Well, now you're curious. Yeah. Well, so let me pull up my next Linux systems administration stuff and then bite my tongue. No, what I tell the students is this. It tends to be because most of my students are very, very. I don't want to say. I'm not going to use the word liberal. Younger students tend to be very cavalier, and what I mean by that is they're very cavalier about money often. And like they're like, well, like we should just spend money in all these ways and this and this and this. And I'm like, well, that sounds wonderful. When you're young and you don't make a lot of money, this is my one political thing I tell my students. When you're young and you don't make a lot of money, or you're dealing with house money, family money or student loans or whatever, it's very easy to say we should do everything. But I tell my students then, but when you become an engineer and you start making good money, you're going to look back and consider, are those people spending the money that I make as effectively as I think I could spend it? And when you determine that, you're probably going to cross out of maybe where you started and then maybe go over to like a libertarian or some other type of some other type of thing. That's what I tend to tell students. Like when you look at it and go, well, hell, that person's not spending my money nearly as well as I think I could spend my money, right? Like I could be given to a charity better than that, right? Because and like again, I try not to get too political, but the reason, because people always say like, why does the government not do whatever to whatever organizations? And it's because when the government does studies, and guys, I've been part of this, so I know this. When the government does studies, they find that they waste 10 times more money than like just giving money to some charity would. That's like a thing. That's the when you give like if you give money to a government bureaucracy to help people, less than 1/10 of that money ever gets to the people. But if you give that money through like charities like United Way, I mean, I don't care what charity we're talking about. United Way, PETA, I'm not trying to get political about the charities you give to. What I'm saying is those things tend to, even if they have big money people at the top that are making a lot, way more of that money, like, and they publish it, like 83% of the money still goes to the fucking people. That's way better than less than 10%. Anyways, all right, I'm not trying to be political, right? I'm just I'm telling you guys that it tends to be that as you make more money, you start to look at how other people want to spend your money a little more closely than maybe the cavalier way you are when you're young. Because when you're young, you're like, just give everybody everything, and then you're like, well, I mean, the first rule of economics is the theory of economic constraint, right? And that is that there's only so much to go around. We would love to be able to just give everybody everything. If we ever got energy to be free, then that would be awesome, but we're not there. Like if you ever watch like the show Star Trek, right? Everybody can just go up to a machine and get whatever they want out of it. And that's wonderful. That would be a great place to be, but we're not at that place in life yet. So, anyway, so I'm not trying to be too political. I'm just telling you guys that that's the one thing I tell my students. If they ask me later on in their career, like later on as they're leaving my class, and they're like, "You never talked politics," and I'm like, "I won't. I don't. But this one thing, maybe you'll change where you're at as you get older." That's the thing. There's also a saying by was it Churchill, who said, "If you're not like something to do, like if you're not something when you're young, you have no fire, and if you're not something when you're old, you're an idiot." There's a whole thing on that you guys can read up about. I think it was Churchill that said it. Anyways, all right. So we'll go and we'll look at like some Linux systems administration things. Again, we're reviewing some of the course because we're halfway through the course for people who wanted to see what we were working on. They're all also recorded on the on YouTube. Units 1 through 8 are up, so we're in Unit 8 right now. So if you're in the Discord and you're like, well, where are they all at? You come down here to projects, and you can find every one of the things up here. I've never worked with MariaDB Galera. I've worked with MariaDB recently. And then I also, that MariaDB had CoroSync and Pacemaker involved with its failover. And then we just used logical volume management. So when the logical volume management moved, then the database just started on top of it. So that's another way to do it. I didn't even mention that way earlier. That would be an active passive failover type cluster. And then that's CoroSync and Pacemaker. I actually need to put together a lab for you guys to do CoroSync and Pacemaker in the Killer Coda, but I haven't done it yet. This is where you would go. Prolog projects, and you would look for this, and this would be the start of the course. Actually, I think just up from here. No, yeah, this is the start of the course right here. There's all the stuff you can download. If you don't want to download it, you can come in here and you can just read the stuff. Or if you don't want to download the docs, like if you don't want documents, you just want to do like markdown notes, basically, you can do it. And then you go through all the labs. All right. Linux Systems Administration Unit 4 dealt with, we have always a little bit at the beginning, so ask me questions in Discord. If we have announcements, when we started, we only had like 40 people say they were coming, and then we shot all the way up to 208 eventually. And then it really makes me mad. The course actually wiped. I don't know what Discord did, but the event here has 18 people now, but it was 208. So if anybody wants to use the copy button, okay. If anybody wants this, I've been posting it in general most of the day, but I said make sure to re-sign up for the event, and then you can, if you want to, go say that you guys want to go, because then you get an alert when it's starting. And nobody got the alert this last week, and we actually had a guest speaker who came in, And then I think he messaged me and he's like, hey, there's nobody in here. And I'm like, something happened, something wiped this event. And we can see when people do actions, so I could see if even one of the mods had done it, but nobody did it. There's no action record of this. There's events before and there's events after, but there's no events of when this wiped. Super annoying, super effing annoying. Basically like there was a hiccup in Discord or something. I don't know. Yeah, Discord's kind of silly. So apparently falsely attributed to Churchill. No, but somebody said that. Somebody said that quote though. It might not have been Churchill. It might have been. That sounds like something a French, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the French have had like a revolution every 30 years since like the 1700s, right? Like they're doing something. But anyways, there's yeah, I don't know who that's actually then said it, but that is a real quote. So anyways, all right. Last week, so we were talking about the term triage. And have you ever had to triage something? And then we got in there and just like triage could be like me looking at this full water bottle here and this half drank one and feeling them and going, well, they're both the same cold, but this one's already open, so I'll just go ahead and drink out of this one. That's technically a triage. That's me putting things in an order of how I want to work through them. I'm just going to work through this one. It's already open. It's going to be finished, and then I can start the next one, and that's a triage. Triage can also be how I'm spending my time. I could be in here building more of this 3-tier app that I was building out yesterday, right? Like I was building an app for our Prolog site on my home Kubernetes, and I wasn't really making a big deal about it, but it is set up, and then I just need to go and work some of the back end stuff, right? So yeah, so triage is first aid. Yeah. Linux developer, yeah, let me know when. I'll let you guys. We'll hang out and watch Ranger for a minute until ads are done. I know some people are on ads over on the Twitch side, so we'll hold off for a second, and then we'll talk more about triage. But yeah, but this is move that down over here. Okay. But yeah, how do you triage something? Like how do you put things in order? Almost universally, you should pick a metric of what's important, and for management the important thing may be cost, right? The management may be like, well, work on the thing that's going to make us the most money, or work on the thing that's going to save us from the most downtime. As an operations team, your number one metric, your key performance indicator, is always uptime, right? How much uptime can we keep in a system is the big part. All right, 17 more seconds on ads and then we'll go. So we'll give you guys some time. Seven seconds. All right, you're back. Yeah, I was watching the ads up there, and then I was holding off for you. When we were talking about triage, though, I was saying how you pick a metric and then you use that to triage things. And one could be, so a very common one for medical is, what will kill a person first? Having a broken bone, having no oxygen in their lungs, not having water, or bleeding out. And the answer is, before you bleed out, before your broken bone causes you maybe to bleed out, breathing will kill you first. Not breathing, you can live, you'll have brain death in under 8 minutes, right, if you're not breathing. So probably even less than that. But the point is, that'll kill you. Bleeding, like, it's surprising how much blood is in a person's body. It takes a lot of bleeding to actually, like, bleed out. So my point in triage is, when we look at people, we look at their airway being cleared, then we talk about bleeding, then we talk about whatever C is, I think something else. Yeah. So, yeah, lack of oxygen is the first, right? So, anyway, so triaging things in the systems world could be, what can we solve the fastest? Like, maybe I've got 15 work tickets that came in, and I just like to knock out these ones because they're easy. So I do those ones first, but then something that was really actually like a hot item sat for 2 hours, and now my manager has to ask me about it because he got pushed on by another manager. That's bad triaging. Doing things because they're easy is probably one of the ways that most people triage things the most often. 5 liters in a person, yeah. So, and then I say, ask Google, find a blog, or ask an AI about high availability. So we talked about high availability. These are shortened versions of the actual questions. So the questions in the Discord are longer. And if you go and do the discussions and you go and you do this, you have to answer the discussion and then you have to respond to somebody else Yeah, CPU scheduling. How does a CPU determine and how do we allow interrupts to work on hardware, right? How much interrupts should we allow? A huge thing that happens for triage is if you guys have ever heard of carrier sense. So, well, okay, communication stuff. Back up to communications for a second. We can do polling. We can do contention based. We can do token passing. There's all of these different ways to send messages when we're contending for a resource, right? So one of the one that won, by the way, is CSMA/CD on Ethernet 2 systems. That's a carrier sense multiple access with collision detection. In a wireless system, it's carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance, right? And those things have different ways that they behave to send a message without there being a collision. Now, in a switch network, you don't have any collisions anymore because your transmit is to their receive and their transmits to your receive, and there's actually no collisions anymore, which is why Ethernet works really well in switch networks. Ethernet worked really well in hub networks when we had collision domains back in the day, but typically only until Ethernet got up to about 60% traffic. Once you got to 60% traffic saturation, you saw a massive hike in your number of collisions and a drop in your throughput. That was a thing that used to happen early on in my career in the early 2000s, right? Less common now. But anyway, so I talk about high availability, and high availability is expressed in a number of nines. Yeah, we don't really have hubs anymore. The last token ring I knew of got decommissioned in like 2011, and it was over at American Express out here in Phoenix. That was the last token ring I knew of. That was still in existence. They might still have one in a museum somewhere running stuff, but token ring, the devices would pass the token on to the next device as it was done transmitting or not transmitting, and it would send these tokens around. If the token got lost, something would have to regenerate a token. Token would have to be trusted and authoritative, and then it would go through. Yeah, and actually we there's still ways to do that, although most of them have been fixed around ARP poisoning and stuff. But that's actually something that it's ARP, ARP. This it's pretty convenient, but it's also super annoying sometimes. It doesn't always give me all my stuff. All right, anyways, let's go back to letting that spin, and we'll keep talking through this. So this week in Unit 3, we had a little article about an operations bridge, and I made everybody read, skip the verification, about this operations bridge. And if you've never read about an operations bridge, here you go. You can go read a little bit about it, and then maybe you could answer some of these questions that I had. I had a bunch of questions about what did you learn that you hadn't heard of before? What is an operations bridge seeking to do in an organization? What can it help you maybe do better? Like maybe there's a lot of complaints in your organization about when an incident actually happens, information is not being properly disseminated. Some of you probably, if there's a problem happening, we get everybody on a call and we work through something. That's an operations bridge. Not a formal one, but it is one. That's and then you start to go dig in. And operations, for an operations team, that's where Linux systems administrators start. So I always show you guys this drawing that I did a while back. Linux systems administration, you start over here, and sysadmins start in operations, typically, right? Sysadmins care about keeping the lights on, which is operations level tasks. Network operations center, security operations center, help desk. This is where a lot of people get into the field. Then I say, how are you doing things better? How are you making operations better? And how are you looking at how devices are talking or not talking and filling up and logs and all these things? And what are you doing here to make this better? Oh, and I was actually showing my students earlier that there's some Azure stuff if you're in there. Anyways, so yeah. So anyways, this was part of this comes from a Cisco methodology called prepare, plan, design, implement, operate, and optimize, which is another way to look at things. Yeah, the class is Network 350, so it's all Azure, and I was just showing them different ways to connect, and then I was showing them that you could use VS Code. I also showed them that they could use any other editor that they might want, right? Like I'm never really prescriptive, guys. I'm not strongly opinionated about how people do things. I have like a $14 keyboard in front of me and I can type just fine on it. I don't care if I'm leet haxing and not ever taking my hands off the keyboard and touching it. I don't care about any of that stuff because none of that stuff has made me any better as an engineer, right? I know some of the infotainers on the platform would have you think if you can't do it the certain way, then you couldn't do it. And I'm like, that's never jived with me, right? That's never been that important. So yeah, Amber, thanks for dropping a sub over on the YouTube side. You guys are always welcome to hang out. And I tell you guys all the time, like, this is not that persistent. I can see you guys talk back and that kind of stuff, but then when I close this down, the chat goes away. But Discord is very persistent. You can ask questions. We had a couple people get jobs recently. I know, like, I don't want to call anybody out, but somebody had their first day at work today. They were telling us this weekend that they were starting today, and I think they're around if they want to call themselves out. But yeah, it's kind of cool, like, to hear that people are getting jobs in the field, because that's the goal of our group, is to get you guys into systems administration roles. So we're all hobbyists. We all do Linux for fun, right? We can just hang out and do Linux right now, right? Like, where my terminals all go? Oh, here's my terminals over here. Get rid of that one. Yeah, so by the way, we were looking at our Linux environment and making sure it was all up and safe right now. It looks like it's fine. And we were talking about containerization, container list, and then Werewolf controls our containers, and it also configures. It'll tell us how our nodes are configured. So I can do node list -a. We can just do like one node if we want. We can do all the nodes 1 through 19, and then -a, and then grep -i for container. Right, and I can see that we moved to a new version of the container that we built the other day, and then now I could clean up maybe one of these older versions of the container that I don't need, or if I need to stand all these machines back up in an old lab, I can do that, way quicker than how I used to tool machines over. So I really think Werewolf's a great tool for running clusters, and I've done a fair amount of cluster management in my time. And Werewolf tends to do it pretty well. So yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. Work my containers that run perfectly in AWS ECS Fargate. Yeah, Amber. That's a thing too. I've never run any workloads that are real in the cloud. I've only ever run workloads for myself in my environment. I do have a production Kubernetes environment at home, but just for my own. When I say production, when you guys hear me say production for my home lab, just know it's still a hot mess of stuff, but it's just kind of me hanging around. Yeah, I have a fair amount of, in Killer Code, I have a fair amount of like Kubernetes stuff as well. I guess every time I bring something up in front of this thing's gonna stop spinning over here. But anyway, so we've got the environment. We were working on the environment a little bit yesterday, and mainly what we were doing was lab work. In here, it doesn't matter. Labs. In labs, these are now immutable. So if I do export FS, you'll see that labs. Guess we'd see it here. Labs is read only. And I'm going to put things into labs, and then everybody in any of the Rocky nodes are going to be able to go and pull the lab stuff down and, work on it in the lab work environment, so that people can go and do their own container builds. We're going to be building some containers next week, so I'm gonna have you guys doing that. So that'll be good. Atticus, you're trying to get a job working in Linux for the new year. Moving from data. When I do, I'll buy copies of Chris' book for others in this. Thank you. Nice. Yeah. So if you're moving out of, are you doing data analytics? I think Atticus, you've told me this before. It should be NFS 4. We can check typically. So you should be able to see here. And yeah, we should be on NFS 4, and also NFS-server. And also we should be able to do why am I not it's like you've broken my brain. I can't think. How the hell do I we'll go over. I don't know why my brain, I can't think of how to lab, right? So here's labs. Yeah, it's NFS4. I was like, good God, how am I gonna figure it out from the server side? I should still know how to find it from the server side, but for some reason my brain wasn't working. But I can definitely check it over on this side and see that, yeah, it's mounting as NFS version 4, so that's good. Version 4.2. There we go. All right, let's get out of there. Let's keep we'll keep building the lab up. I have all week to work on the lab because the lab and stuff will not be. We won't be doing Unit 9 until Saturday. We meet on Saturdays and do Unit 9 together, and then I record them on Sunday morning. Typically, that's kind of the way that I go. Oh no, I'm very easily derailed. I very rarely get things done when people are around, but that's because I try to make sure that I'm answering questions and showing you guys this stuff. So we come over here. This is a big one, right? Your team has no documentation around how to check out a server during an incident. So I said to write out a procedure of what you think an operations person should be doing on the system that they suspect is not working properly. Now, not working properly can be maliciously broken or non-maliciously broken. We don't always know that when we start out. We can suspect that there's something wrong with our web servers. We can suspect something's wrong with our database servers. But how do you know until you start the checks, right? Maybe you have something that triggers an alert of maybe like there's a password spray going on where somebody's been compromised. This happens. I actually have a lab that makes you guys go through. Well, I have a discussion that we do on it where we look at a password spray happening in an environment, and then a server that's trying to have like the CEO login, you start to get all these logins everywhere, and that triggers an alert. If you have a good SIEM solution, that should trigger an alert for you, and then you go start trying to figure out what's happening, right? If you have no procedure about what to do with a server, how would you start that, right? It's very hard to start from a blank page. So we might come over here and go to like SANS.org and then go look at their ultimate list of SANS cheat sheets, and then we come down here and there's one right here that's security incident cheat sheet for server administrators. I'll link this to you guys because I just think this is a good one. I'll drop this in here. And this one starts off over here on the left with Windows stuff, and maybe that's less interesting to us. But then there's a bunch of stuff over here on the Unix, Linux side. And you could take this raw. This is very raw, right? This is not, I wouldn't give this to a junior engineer. But what I might do is I could take this, and then I could pull up like my notes over here, and I could say, oh yeah, no, that one's good actually. Yeah, we start at, and then I come here. Whoops, let's get out of that. Internals. And you come here and you start with, okay, verify last logins, right? And for me, that's last pipe it through more, or last pipe it through TAC so that it turns it around, right? And if you haven't seen that before, let's pull that up real quick. We just say last, and then pipe it through TAC, and TAC will spin it around so that the old ones are last and the new ones at the bottom are the newest. That's kind of convenient because otherwise last is really stupid. It has all the useful ones at the top, and then you're way down at the bottom. I hate it. Yeah, Elastic's good. I'm a big fan of Elastic Search, if that's what you're talking about, unless you're talking about some other type of Elastic. You know the first thing I always check? Can I tell you guys the first thing? There's the number one thing I always check when I touch a server. Let's go one, and then the number one thing. It's like my hands they just like fly on their own when I get to a server. That's the first thing I always do. And then maybe here we verify last logins. So, you know, and maybe you want to check. So look, okay, so that'll be the start of our check here. And then we can start to dig in. And if I run out of ideas, I can look over here and I say, okay, so check uptime, verify last logins. They want to look at logs, look at event logs, but I care about very specific logs. So this was last logins that were, by the way, successful. Anybody know where I'd go look for verify failed logins? Anybody know where that is in like a Red Hat or a CentOS or a Rocky box or Alma, I guess? Any of those boxes? Anybody know where that is? Maybe grep. You know, and we're just building. We're looking here and we're saying, okay, logs are pretty important. Then they have recent security events, so that's also what that's what I do anyways. We might look at the network. Has the network changed? Is there something? I like to know if something's connected, but this says to do an ARP, so check network configuration. So that will be ARP. If you've never seen ARP on a Linux box, here we go. I use ARP-A, but it'll try to resolve IPs and names to me if it knows them. If there's devices outside of here that it doesn't know, then it's not going to be able to resolve them, but it can tell me their MAC, right? And that's hard for me to parse, but I can feed that into something and look for duplicates and look for all kinds of things, right? There's all kinds of stuff I can do. ARP is one. Make sure nobody's messing with your routes, so IPR or IP route if you want. Right, and the route will tell me that if I don't know where traffic's going to go, we go out this path. If I have something on a local network, I go out this path here, right? And we've talked about how your system determines this and what it means to be the longest prefixed match. Longest prefix match is kind of the de facto standard for networking. And what that means is 192.168.200 is a /24, so that's what's being matched. If there were another entry and it was like 192.168/16, that would tend to have a lower priority than this. However, that all being said, see this word metric over here? This is setting the metric to 100, so it's very possible that IP route is actually we could set the metric separately if we wanted to. And you say, how would I know more about that? Man, IP route. And then now here's IP route, routing table management. And then I can go down to metric, right? I just look for the word metric. And then I can start to see, oh, okay, here's what metrics are. And I can hit N to keep going. And metric number is a preference number. There's a table ID, a VRF, and then we can go figure out whatever our different things are. So arbitrary 32-bit number, where routes with lower values are preferred. So the lower the value, the more preferred it is. It's also an arbitrary 32-bit number. Does anybody know how I would figure out how many bits 32? I can count on my fingers. I can go 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And I can count up how many bits I can do by doing my numbers on my fingers. Or, by the way, that's about 4.3 billion, right? Give or take. It's a little over 4.2 something billion, almost 4.3 billion. I know that because if you didn't know that, you would go like this. You would go to Google, and you would just say 2 raised to the caret of 32 like that. And it would tell you it's almost 4.3 billion. It's also how many IPv4 addresses there are, right? So, all right, anyways. We're not doing networking right now, but it's important to kind of know. So I come over here, right, and get this thing out of the way, and I keep looking at this, and I say, okay, check my network config. Again, my point is this: if I handed this to a junior Linux engineer that got called out at 2 in the morning, they'd probably just like blow up, and they'd probably be over here on the Windows side trying to like put Windows commands into Linux, and this would not be good. I have to squeeze this down. I have to distill this knowledge down into a procedure. So this could be our procedure for checking out nodes in our environment, right? And then this is a procedure for checking out nodes in our environment experiencing an incident or something we think is experiencing an incident. This is completely different It's actually completely different in many ways than if I were here. I'll go down and I'll make a whoops tab enter there. I'm gonna make a new one real quick and say this is completely different than node checkout after maintenance, but before being added back into the cluster, right? Something like this. This is a totally different type of procedure that I might do for this. This right here is probably not going to be exactly what I'd check, and then I have a whole set of things. So these are prescriptive, and you guys have heard me say often that I'm not being prescriptive. I'm not prescriptive to you when it's like how we study things or how often you study. Do whatever you guys want, right? Like study as much as you need to. Can be installed with what I want you to that's funny. What I want you guys to do is to if you are doing something for a junior engineer and there are a set of discrete tasks that there's like 1 through 8 and they need to be performed for some function to work or for some node to be checked out, yeah, you can be prescriptive in that sense. Yeah. So I just want you guys to know, you hear me often say like, oh, I'm not being prescriptive. Because I'm not. I'm not telling you have to use these procedures. I'm not telling you any of those things. But if you're a junior engineer in the company and I'm responsible for keeping the servers up and you're the one on call and I don't want to get called out when you break it, I am going to be very prescriptive about stuff. And, that may come across some people as like anal retentive or this or this or this. Well, look, I mean, you got to be, you can be a nice guy or you can be the person who keeps the servers running, right? And by the way, I feel like I am being a nice guy because I wrote the procedure out for you. If you choose not to follow the procedure, well then, or the procedure's broken and that's on me because I should have been updating. And by the way, once you start writing procedures, you got to check them, you got to update them every so often. Typically every 6 months I touch all my procedures, and the more procedures you write, the more you got to write. There's no, you're always doing more. So, all right. Anyways, so we would do this. This is the start of what I would do, and I linked that to you guys so you would have it. All right, so we come down here and your team has no documentation on how to check a server, so now you started writing it. And you took this is free on the internet. They even tell you you're allowed to use it. And you just start to write it up and build your stuff. And then look, there's more cheat sheets out there. All right, let's go back and check on Ranger. How's Ranger doing? All right. Then in the class when we were doing Unit 4, we talked about reviewing the final project, and there is a final project for the course. So for people who are doing our Linux course with us, there is a final project, and it looks like this. Here's the Prolog project. So final project. Select a table to research. Select a topic to research about a project that you're going to build. Here are some ideas. They are not all inclusive. People could pick other things if they wanted. Again, we're in week 8, so I would think by this point that people would be at least in like the planning and documenting, maybe even drawing the thing out logically by this point, right? But anyways, you're going to find something that you're interested in. So find some project. You're going to start to plan the project. You're going to look at documentation that's out there, how you're going to build it. You're going to start a document with a first pass. What does it take to build it out? You're going to assess what you think it's going to take. It's going to take me 20 hours. I don't even know what it's going to take. I just know I have to keep studying it. That is perfectly fine on your first engineering run. As you get to doing this stuff more, you're going to learn, okay, it takes me about 40 hours. It takes me about a week worth of time to, Cunnilingus. I was thinking some people wouldn't have remembered that it's there because I haven't been mentioning it as much. But I'm going to start to hammer it because people got to start planning what they're going to do. Some people have already come to me with some really good ideas, and then you guys, we should probably have a discussion section for you guys to just do discussions on that as well. Maybe I'll start that this week, and I'll have you guys in there discussing the portions of the project, right? But then you start to diagram the thing out, draw the thing, show logically how it works in your head. And I was talking about this the other day. You guys probably don't realize how often something is just somebody's version of something, and they show it to somebody, and then they're like, oh, that's really cool. Hey, can I use that, or can I show that in a presentation? And then the next thing you know, the thing that you just drew for yourself, You just kind of sketched it up on the wall. Next thing you knew, it's the standard for how that's explained in the company. That happens often, guys. You probably more than any of us want to admit. Because I build stuff all the time for myself. I never intend anybody else to see it. And then they do, and they're like, that's actually pretty good. And I'm like, it's an old clunker, but it gets me from point A to point B. And they're like, hey, can I use it? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like, well, can you modify it like this, this, and this? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then now all of a sudden I have something that I'm maintaining. Actually, when Sending Grounds came and talked to us in August about our 5 years on Discord, we had like a big August thing, and he talked about that. He said, like, first stuff, it's yours and it can be shitty, but when you start to give it to other people, you got to put a menu on it and you got to have like a little help, and some other stuff. And then he went through like iterations all the way to, I think like layer 6 he had this whole thing where now it's become like part of the company's deployment, and now you're supporting it to customers and stuff. That name didn't sound safe for work. Had to switch back to chat. Oh, yeah, the Cuddlingus. Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually. No, that's fine. I like that thing actually picks it up and doesn't think I'm saying the other thing. It doesn't think, there's an old Saturday Night Live skit that was about Colonel Angus coming to town. And the more they say Colonel Angus, it doesn't sound appropriate the more they say it. And then Colonel Angus is Christopher Walken, which is already like one of my favorite actors. Then you start to build. You get some screenshots, maybe make a video, basically prove that you built it. Finalize your documentation and redline it in such a way that you could give it to me or some other engineer, and they could run through it. And then you can just sit with them on one of our Project Rocky servers, and they could build your thing for you. And then now you've productionalized it in a way that some other engineer or some other team or somebody that you sell it to could set it up, right? And then this last one is very optional for people. I even say down here, I think I say it down here, presenting to us is voluntary but definitely possible. So then right here was prepare to present, and I want you to use a tool like Overleaf or something and put together it's a great alternative to PowerPoint for people who want to do scientific stuff or want to do like nice college research but don't want to spend any money. Overleaf is free and it's open source, so you can run your own Overleaf internally and just hit an API and generate your own stuff over and over again from Markdown. It's actually really slick. If you guys have never used Overleaf, it's well, probably because you don't do a lot of presenting, but if you do some presenting, you can do some really cool stuff in here. There's some really cool, like your Markdown goes from that to this, right? Like it's going to show the Markdown again. So you're building whatever you're doing, and you can actually write things like this. And then it should show, accept the cookies, damn it. And then when you regenerate it, it should come up and actually put things up. Yeah. The resume part of it's really nice because you can push. By the way, if you run it, you can pay money like this. This one's free or has some paid for versions, but you can run it on your own, and then you can just shoot Markdown at it, and it'll publish for you in different PDF or whatever. Look at this. This is exactly what it looks like right here. It's wild to me. One of our presenters came, Ben. When Ben comes and talks to you guys, he actually uses this tool, and he's using this tool. He's doing his PhD in. He's getting his PhD in economics right now, actually. So he and I are both doing school, but at different colleges. He teaches at his college too. I teach at a different college than the college that I go to. So, anyways, Overleaf's great tool. So here's what I said as a high level. What's your project purpose? What's your diagram? What's the build process? What did you learn? Those are 4 simple things that you could probably build into a 15 to 20 slide deck. And then you could present and then how are you going to apply this in your career or show this to people going forward? And then I said, do any of you want to present? And then let me know and we'll get you a slot in the last few weeks. I'll sit. Look, if 20 people ask to present and they're all going to take 20 minutes, that's going to take some hours. I'll hang out on Saturday night. Probably have the wife sitting back here on the little beanbag chair, but yeah, well, it's actually not a little beanbag chair. It's a really big one, but you guys can't see it because it's behind me. But that's where the wife normally sits when she's hanging out. And yeah, we'll just hang out here and watch you guys do your presentations. That would be fun. Deliverables. Here's the 4 deliverables for the project. Build documentation for your project that works in either our Prolog labs or in the Killer Coda environment, because we want to be able to rebuild your project from your documentation. A diagram of what you built. You should be both physical if possible or just logical, and I say if applicable. So you might not be building a physical system, but yeah. Cuddlingus, some of the projects are pretty slick. Some of the people are really putting some time in theirs. Yeah, I want you guys to see what you guys have done. And everybody's going to have their own little areas of interest. This was actually really cool. One of the first days when when everybody was getting in there and doing the discussions, people were posting the jobs that they were interested in. And there was so many interesting things that people wanted to go do. And I'm like, not all that stuff is for me. I've never wanted to do like malware, like taking apart malware. Never seemed interesting to me. But for people that like to like pick at puzzles, and like for people that like if they had a box sitting in front of them, they have to figure out how to open it. That's exactly the type of people that want to do that probably. When I was younger, I probably liked that stuff a little more, but as I've gotten older, I'm like, I'll just do the Linux stuff until I pass away, like this Linux stuff is fun. Can't believe they keep paying. I joke around all the time. I can't believe they pay me as much as they do to do this stuff, but anyways, then you need to give me an example of it running. Give a screenshot. Show that it worked. Bounce something off an API. Whatever you did, you're going to show it to us. And then again, a 15 to 20 slide presentation. Even if you're not going to present it, I still want you to do the presentation. Because here's the thing. As most of you have probably noticed, if you're doing our Linux Systems Administration course, which by the way is free, anybody can do it. The only thing it costs you is about 8 hours a week of your time, because that's about what I've tuned it for. This presentation is going to be something that you're going to then go and turn into a portfolio. If you have nothing else to say on your resume, you can at least say, hey, I have this. And they'll be like, what is this? And you built it, so you'll definitely be able to talk to it. You will be able to talk to it in a way that you are confident, maybe in a way you've never been confident before, because you built the damn thing. Like that's, I think that's really good. Is there good resources for learning API in general? Yeah, there actually are. Hold on. On our Discord, if you just want to learn some API stuff, go to our beginners start here section, right here. And we've got an API Academy that that's actually free, and it was run by Broadcom, but I think they changed over to LearnUpon. I don't know why they changed it, but we have if you click on certification topics, we have a study guide for it that'll help you get there. Oh man, Colchis, hopefully you're feeling better. Yeah, I was gone for a week, so probably you weren't coming to streams and I wasn't streaming. So hopefully you're feeling better, Colchis. Bad time of the year to get COVID too, right? Like just end of so Phoenix, the summer just effing ended. We were at 100. I think I told you guys 1 month ago at the October 7th. We were at 116 degrees still here in Phoenix, and today I think only got to like 70. It's 57 out right now, so it's pretty cool outside. But yeah, hopefully you're feeling better, Colchis. Phoenix went from being 115 to 4. Yeah. It was cold. It was actually, I was driving to the gym this morning I take a shower and then I get over. You might say, why do you take a shower before you go to the gym? Well, because I'm wrestling and you're real close to people. So I think it's polite to take a shower before you wrestle. But then also it's good hygiene to shower after wrestling actually. Because, you just, funky mats. But yeah, it was cold. I had to I turned the AC off and I just had the windows cracked a little bit. So it was pretty good. I'm pretty sure Twitch waits for you to send a message to play it. Yeah, sorry about that, Colchis. You should be back now, though, Colchis. Oh, geez. From Avondale to Gilbert, yeah. Oh, Killa, speaking of that, we have a fair number of Prolog people on my side of town up in Glendale. I live up in Glendale, Arizona, which is, for other people, it's kind of around from where the Glendale Arena is, if you guys have heard about that. They've had 3 Super Bowls here since it was made, and I think in the last 15 years they've had 3 Super Bowls here, and it's getting really packed out there. They're they've got a water park out there, and they've got a few casinos, and people are starting to come out there more often, and it's there's a shooting almost every weekend at the nightclubs out there, so I know that it's getting to be a popping place. Anyways, where I'm going with that is we were talking about this, and some of the guys in Discord were saying, "Oh, we should have a meeting for everybody that's in London. We should have a big ProLug meetup in London." I was like, "Oh shoot, we have to have a ProLug meetup in Phoenix before we have ProLug meetup somewhere else." But we used to meet every Saturday physically all the way up until 2020. So we met at my house every Saturday pretty much, and it was pretty fun. We had a lot of good times there. But all right. So anyways, yeah. So beginner start here. This will give you there's probably about 16 hours worth of study and reading there to learn about how APIs work. So this little API Academy, learnupon.com, you just sign up for it and it's free. So the question was learning about APIs and is it valuable? I think it's very valuable. North Carolina chapter, maybe. You guys are, I mean, like, we're probably going to go in somewhat force. I'm going to bring some of the guys out. We're going to go to that SC in California next year. Oh, actually, I need to, I might have missed it already, but there was a call for papers for SC. I think I missed the deadline, or call for presentation. Let's see. There's a whole bunch of other SCs. I think it was SC Linux. Scale, that's what it's called. Call for papers. I think I've already missed it, so I'm probably not going to put in for it. But that's Scale 13. Obviously, we missed Scale 13. Where's Scale? I think Scale. We need next year's Scale. We have it on Discord. I think Robodom's posted it in conferences. Let me go look, because Robodom goes and volunteers every year. Supercomputing's coming up. I'm not making it to supercomputing this year because I just went out to Hawaii, but I know some of you guys are going to supercomputing in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, let's see if we can see. Let's see. I think you put it up here. eBPF Summit. Call for presenters. Let's see when this runs out. It was November 1st. Yeah, so I missed it. I'm not too worried about it. I've been too busy to put together. Killa, I think those are good to go? Oh, 100%. Those are good to go too as a student. Yeah, you'll just rub elbows with people and you'll get contact information and you'll find technologies that maybe you haven't seen or done before. I would call our Discord like a very, very light version of like going actually to a conference. Like, yeah. We go Cisco Live event next year in San Diego. Nice. Killer, that would be good. Yeah, I've heard good things about Scale. Robodom's been to at least 2 of them. We had a meetup last year. Well, not a meetup, but like some of the guys met up there. So they kind of contacted each other on the Discord, and then they met up, and then they took pictures, and that was really cool. One of our guys did a really good write-up of like kind of what his experience was, and I think he was a student at the time. I haven't seen him in a while either. It's always sad when I think of somebody who was like always around and then they aren't. I mean, I get life gets in the way, but hopefully people pop back around, you know. You guys are always welcome to hang out and do as much or as little Linux as you want, you know. But anyways, so do the labs, work on your stuff. All right. So then this last week, so this was week 4. Yeah, I'm in week 4. Yeah. We talked about operating running systems, right? That's what the lab was about. And operating running systems dealt with looking at all the big 4, which is the CPU, the RAM, the networking, and the disk, to see how used they are, how like there's different ways that things get used. Like disks can be used for just the number of inodes on them, and you can run out of your inodes. Disks can also fill up storage, which is much more common than inodes, but it's true. Disks can be saturated on I/O, so the I/O channel paths out to your disks may be slower than you need. Your disks may be mounted remotely. Like you may have file systems that are mounted as NFS. You may have file systems that are local, but they're actually going off over maybe some kind of fiber channel or InfiniBand type network connection out to things. So how do we just like quantify all that? How do we look that all up? And that's what operating running systems was. I had you look, and there was a lab for this week, that week here, and it's up in the Discord. But I had you look at like PS to look at like what processes are running, and then how utilized is your CPU on a system, and then how saturated is your RAM, and are processes waiting to get to the processor that are also using RAM, and how do you know that kind of stuff, right? And one of the best guys for that is this guy. I show you guys him sometimes, Brendan Gregg. He's got some of the coolest graphics on all this stuff. He's one of the guys to kind of keep track of, and all this stuff is about the commands. It's about the commands that you would do, or the things that you would do to hit all of these different pieces. So his stuff's really good. His stuff's kind of like the industry standard. In fact, this is a great way to see your basic commands and what they'll do for you, right? All right. So anyways, that's there. Yeah, really, really good for looking at systems. So, we get into this and we, let's get this out of the way, and we'll get that out of the way because I've linked all that to you guys. And then we started talking about handling incidents, and a lot of the Linux Systems Administration course, if you come to any of them or if you go watch them on YouTube, I'm not strictly speaking trying to just get your hands on the keyboard and doing tasks. I have other stuff for that. There's really good labs on Killer Coda from a whole bunch of different people. You have to spend your time hands on keyboard. You have to learn how to do the commands. This course is designed to help you to understand the value of your Linux Systems Administration for a company, right? So we started talking about incidents. Do we have an incident bridge? Is something stood up? We need to track the events and timelines of when we got called out. So always for me, when was I alerted? I write that down in my notes. What did I check? And if they've got me on a bridge call, I will alert as different things. I will alert to the bridge what I was checking. I've checked out this node. This node seems to be up more than 13 days. It's probably not a reboot. Reboot didn't happen on this node. Reboot did happen in the other node that's having problems, so I'll go check into that. Hey, how's it going on the raid from the Shy Hat? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just hanging out. We're not working too hard right now. Hip hop hack. Yeah. And we're talking right now, guys, about a Linux Systems Administration course that I've been running in the Professional Linux Users Group, which is a Discord that I've been running for a little over 5 years, and I've been running the Professional Linux Users Group for about 10 years total, a little over 10 years total. So the goal of that group is to get people from doing this stuff as a hobbyist and turning you into professionals. Your level of effort and how much you want to work on that stuff is up to you, but there is a Discord where people can hang out. That's kind of the goal of me hanging out here and talking to you guys. By the way, I got to keep an eye on when the wife's coming home. Hold on, I got to check my phone real quick. 1 second here. All right. All right. Gotta message the wife. 1 second. Hold on. All right. Hey, to Raid and Run. Yeah, you're always welcome to hang out as long as you can, but take off. Have some food. That's very important. Oh yeah. So what actions we took? This is very important. If I'm a systems administrator, systems administration work is different than systems engineering work. This is very important. The actions I take should be to bring the system back to operations. It's almost like I'm driving a car along and the car gets a flat tire. The actions I take should be to change that tire, get the car back on the road and running. At no point should you come up to me and I have a flat tire and I ended up taking the engine out of my car. I had a little cherry picker in the back and I rolled it around the front and I took the engine out when I was trying to troubleshoot why the vehicle wasn't running right. Those are two totally different types of tasks. If you do ITIL, we tend to call that the incident is getting the system back on the road, get the system back running, and then we do root cause analysis and problem determination later. So that's the thing that comes up later, right? In your bachelor's for cybersecurity and just started Linux class for final and taking the LPI exam. Nice, nice. Yeah, Tommy, I do Linux all the time. That's all I do. So all I do professionally, anyways. So yeah, if you want to hang out, you're welcome to. Hopefully your bachelor's for cybersecurity goes well, and hopefully you get that all done. Yeah, it's important. You'll never hear. This is an important thing. We were talking earlier about how I don't get political on stream, but this is something that seems to be political to me, or people take this politically. But I'm going to say it anyways because I've been a college professor for 16 years and I've been in school for the better part of the last 25. You'll never hear somebody who has a college degree call it just a piece of paper. What I mean by that is it's a process. It's just like anything. It's just like going to a gym. You can have a gym membership for 20 years, but you can not look like you go to a gym, right? Like if you don't go in and put an effort. It's the same thing. Like I think you get out of school what you put into it. So I try to tell guys that you know, it's all about what you put into something. I when I went back, so when I got out of the Army and I already had my CCNA and I went to DeVry, they only took 14 of my 49 college credits, and I was so mad about that. They only took 14 of them, and one of them, they put me in this college class that was the Cisco 1 and 2 level courses. I had a CCNA. I could have taught that shit, right? This was in early 2000, this would have been 2004 when I started college right after the Army. When I started college again. I had been in college while I was in the Army, but they made me start over. And I remember I thought, you know what? If I'm going to be paying for this and I'm going to be sitting here, I'm going to learn something every week, even if I'm the one who has to teach it to myself. And I never like left college feeling like I never left a class feeling like I hadn't learned something because I chose to learn something every time. So that's very important to me. Hey Cerberus, how's it going? I just got raided. Man, I've been raided a few times. We're just hanging out. We're not working too hard. We're reviewing my Linux systems administration stuff. That's like an ongoing course right now that we're running out of Prolog. And it's a free course. Anybody can go do it. But yeah, you guys are welcome to hang out. Gotta drink some water too. I appreciate you guys coming by. I know sometimes you gotta raid and run. What were you doing, Cerberus? I know you mostly do... you're mostly doing your malware analysis stuff over there, right? I've caught a few of your streams over the time. For people that don't know me, I do Linux and I teach Linux. That's pretty much what I do. I also have my hands in a lot of different stuff in the industry. Oh, writing Rust, nice. Yeah, I've never written anything in Rust. I've seen some Rust written, but I've never done anything with it. Create a malware analysis tool of mine in Rust. Nice. Is it more efficient? Does it do its cycles a little faster? That's what I keep hearing from everybody about Rust is that it's got better, better output than C. Well, yeah, I guess a lot of that depends, but I have to imagine. Oh, somebody did a Ranger check. Here's Ranger. My dog Ranger down there. The angle is lower. I should probably put his thing back up so you guys can see him better. He's laying around. He's the most inactive guard dog ever. So if you guys have missed Ranger, that's him. Then we just got system monitoring in my home lab here. Systems that I show you guys. Also, look, people have been hopping in right here. This is people jumping into the labs. And it looks like we're up to 17. We have 17 people connected right now. So that's pretty good. I could go look at who's connected right here. I don't always do it because I don't want to show. Some people get weird about their IP addresses, but if I just did like a W here, W, then those are all me. Hell is that? Those are all my screen sessions right there. Huh. That must have been me doing that. We don't have any other users on. Those are all me in my screen session. That's really funny. But anyways, that's normally we see when people jump in. But that was actually me connecting today to more of my screen sessions. That's really funny to me. But you guys have streamer capability, or you guys have user called Streamer1, I think. Yeah, and then you guys can jump into my home lab, and some of you guys know how to do that from Discord. You just gotta go in Discord and get the info for it. So, what else? Oh yeah. So, anyways, what were we doing? What were we doing before we got raided a couple times? We were looking at. So this is Unit 4, and we're just kind of reviewing stuff. And we were talking about like just operational activities of a Linux systems administrator. What are you doing, right? Like it's not just Linux personnel, Linux people aren't just there to like cast spells of Linux that nobody else knows. They are there to build new things if they're on the engineering side of things and project side of things, and they are there to keep up operations running, right? So as an operations person, you're going to deal with incidents, right? And that's what you're going to do. ITIL is a big part of that. But do we have an event bridge? This is me then. I was showing how I take notes as we go through an incident. There's a really good, I'm going to make you guys do some incident stuff coming up, and sometimes I pull it up on stream, but we won't do it tonight because I think the wife's coming home soon. But one of the things I sometimes do with you guys is a little thing called backdoors and breaches, which, if you've never seen backdoors and breaches, it looks like this. There's a pretty cool, it's from Black Hills InfoSec, which is a pretty well-known information security thing. And they basically have you play a game of an incident happening a lot like you would play Dungeons and Dragons. You got a big D20, and then you roll through, and the people that are trying to resolve the incident that's happening, the security incident, they are being told a story from somebody, me typically, and they will try to find the right procedure and the right activities to figure out what's going on in the environment through a whole set of incident cards that end up looking like the MITRE ATT&CK kill chain. So they kind of framed it somewhat like the MITRE ATT&CK kill chain, not directly like it. I'll show you guys a presentation real quick. Hold on. Cybersecurity incident response. So this is me, right? I told you guys before, I don't care if you guys know who I am, right? Because I'm a real person. You can find me out there in the world. By the way, I also hold other certs that are security related that I wrote after this. So I have a CISSP and a CCSP if anybody cares about that. I also have an AWS security specialty cert, but that doesn't matter. But this is my security quick rundown of how we do security and security incident response. It's tailored towards ISC squared. We're not going to do it right now, but what I do is I come down here and we play the game right here. And here's some procedures that you might have, and then we walk through, and the thing is initial compromise, pivot and escalate, command and control and exfiltration, and then persistence. And I tell you a story. I actually have stories for all of these, and I have all the answers. And then you guys would tell me which ones that you think we should be doing based on the story that I'm telling you. You come in as a network manager, and something is happening in your environment, and you've got to start digging in on what's happening. It's a pretty fun little game, I think. And then I'll just roll like a D20. But I also really like this. Richard Clark was a guy who he served under Clinton, Bush, and then the start of Obama. So under those presidents. So he served over 3 different presidencies. And he famously said this in the early 2000s, and I always loved it. He said, if you spend more on coffee than on IT security, you will be hacked. What's more, you deserve to be hacked. And he said that to a group of like industry professionals in the early 2000s. And I remember reading that and thinking, that's some moxie that guy's got, right? That's that's good. Anyways, and then also another one is everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Like, if you don't, I tell you guys all the time, if you don't know your tools, if you don't know your command line stuff, don't expect to try to learn it when you're called out at 2 a.m. and there's an incident and people are yelling and they're like, hey, what's the status update on that thing we asked about 5 minutes ago? And you're like, well, I'm still waiting for the command to come back, or the server, we can't get to the server yet, so we've consoled in, and now we're doing all this stuff. We're working through stuff. Well, you didn't tell us that the server was down, and you're like, well, you called me because the server was down, right? And it's like, there's all these kind of things. Did he create Zeek? Nice. Yeah, Zeek is a good one. Tommy, just passed my SSCP for my ISC squared and go for my CCSP after the class I'm taking now. Nice, Tommy. Yeah. If you need any advice on CCSP, I have a lot of good advice on CISSP, but CCSP wasn't too bad either. I don't think. CCSP was a challenging cert, but I didn't think it was that bad. So, but congrats on your SSCP for sure. All right. This is a real general up here, General George S. Patton, and then this is the fake colonel from Ender's Game. You're never ready. You go when you're ready enough, right? And we're not going to do that one right now, but if you guys want to do that one time, just let me know and we'll talk about it and stuff. This one's big. What actions did I take? So when I'm checking things, when I'm doing any of my check commands, I always immediately write down anything that's aberrant, anything that has moved away from what I expect to happen. So like on my nodes here, if I were to jump over back to my werewolf system here, right, and I were to do Control Shift R, and then I think I just do Control R Ansible, right, and I look real quick on this, and I do a uname -R against maybe a set of nodes. Well, it should stick out like a sore thumb if any of these 19 nodes don't have the exact same kernel. Like, do you think you guys could look up and down those real quick and go, yeah, those are all built the same? They're all the same kernel at least. Yeah, pretty quick. There's other tools out there like PDish and then Dishback that can do some pretty cool stuff around aggregating them all up for you and that kind of stuff. Firefighter 15 years and switched 3 years to get associate in cybersecurity and associates in networking. So it's a whole new field for me, but I'm trying everything I can to learn. I feel so behind people that have been doing computers since they were born. Yeah, Tommy, I get that. I mean, I probably got my first computer when I was about 8. But it's a good field. I mean, it can be like, I wouldn't call it like cutthroat, but I would say it can be a challenging field sometimes, depending on what type of administration or engineering you do. And it sounds like you want to do mostly security type stuff. So one of the things about security is I tell people the people I know that are best at security are very good at the basics. So they know the networking and they know the system side of things, and they understand how to use their tools to check those things, and then that other stuff kind of falls into place. But I do talk about sometimes. I was the red team lead for AAA, so I did all the red team technical stuff. I wasn't a manager; I was the technical lead, and I ran all the web application firewalls and all the penetration testing and all of our vulnerability and exposures scanning for our for all of AAA, which was at the time about 5,000 servers, 1,500 Linux, and about 3,500 Windows. I did all that. I was also, before I went into that role, I was the platform engineering lead, so I did all the platform stuff, Linux and Windows. So, which is one of the reasons I got that job, because I knew that stuff well enough. I was lucky enough to get a job in the school system, so I do mostly help desk. Yeah, Tommy, that's what when I got out of the Army, and I was an infantry guy, so my skills were infantry stuff, which I assure you guys does not translate well over to the civilian side, not unless people need to die. And then on the other side of things is I had a CCNA. I had been going to college, so I got my CCNA, and I went to work at a little school district here in Glendale, and actually that's where I met my wife, and she was help desk. So when I started out, I was a LAN tech. I just schlepped computers around to teachers' offices. That's all I did. I didn't say slept. I said schlepped. Whatever. Yeah, there we go. Just moved computers around to teachers' offices and fix like gradebook issues and stuff like that for teachers and stuff. That's what I did. That's what I did when I first got out of the Army. I finished my bachelor's, and then I moved over to GoDaddy and ran their network operations center at night. It was third shift, and that was hard on me. And then I ran my own business for a few years, and then I went back and finished a master's, and finished a second master's, and then now I'm working on a doctorate. But there was a long time between. My second master's was in 2011, and then I didn't go back to school until the end of 2023. So I kind of sat back for 13 years and probably could have finished my doctorate in that time, but that's fine. I'm working on it now. I'm a country boy, so I do plumbing, electrical, carpentry, and everything blue collar. That's the reason I feel so behind. Yeah. It's funny. I learned a lot of that stuff in the Army. There was this class there called the I think it was DPW. DPW was the company, and then what was the name of the title? RNU. That's what it was, Repair and Utility. And because I was a responsible single guy that lived in the barracks, I got to do RNU for the barracks. So I learned. Yeah, I was 11. I was 11 Bravo in the Army infantry. So yeah, so 0311s are the Marines. Yeah, but I was 11 Bravo in the infantry in the Army. But anyways, yeah. So I learned how to do drywall and plumbing and basic stuff there while I was in the Army. But that wasn't something I wanted to do. I was basically like a handyman before we called out DPW. So yeah, Amber, well, hopefully you stop back by again. Have I given you guys Discord lately? Discord is free. There's Discord on the Twitch side of things, and I'll give you guys Discord over on the YouTube side too. You guys are always welcome to hang out there. Again, like, I can only do so much here. I can only talk to you guys, and basically I get some screen of text back. But if you go in there, you can hang out and talk with other people. They have study groups. The guys have been running study groups every day. So in Discord, if you're ever just hanging out and you're in our Discord and you see somebody down on one of these channels, you can go hop in there with them. The only one that I would say don't jump in with somebody is the one-on-one. Because typically, well, first off, one-on-one only allows you to have 2 people in the channel. That's how it's designed. And then somebody might be waiting for somebody to jump in. But if somebody's in any other channel, it's fair game to go hop in there. So, right, Discord's free, doesn't cost you nothing. What were we talking about? Yeah, so we were talking about, yeah, if I looked at this environment and some node was having a problem and it had a different kernel, I'd be able to tell very quickly that there was something wrong with it. So, all right. Then I have a little bit about operating a running system, and this is directly from the lab, like what type of system are we on, what disks and file systems are mounted, all this kind of stuff. So if I were doing this real quick over here, now we're not necessarily doing the lab, but if I just SSH to like Rocky 1 in the lab environment, so I'm on Rocky 1, and I cat etc splat release, and I've told you guys nothing about the system. Could you guys tell me what version of Linux I'm running right here? What version of Linux am I running, and what kernel am I on? Well, those 2 questions right there are tremendously important, because if you're having a problem, or some module won't load, or some thing won't build that you're trying to build, the very first thing you need to know before you go asking Stack Overflow, or even if you have customer service from somebody, like maybe you're paying CIQ for a Rocky Linux support in your organization. Well, what if you go to them and say, hey, I got a server that's busted, and they're like, well, what's the name of the server and what's the kernel, or what's the type of server in the kernel? And you're like, I'm not telling you that. How the hell are they supposed to help you, right? This is my point. It's like we this is the first thing right here. The what release are you on, and what version of the kernel are you on? That's the first thing anybody out there is going to ask you, hands down. Darsh Spending, what's your doctorate and what's the benefit of getting one? I also work as a Linux systems admin and working on my master's in cybersecurity. So, all right. So in academia, right, where I've spent the last 16 years teaching, people care what you have before and after your name. I'm never going to probably ever care if anybody calls me doctor anywhere, but in academia, that matters. Like if I wanted to ever stop, because I'm always going to teach for the rest of my career, even if I stop engineering, because I tell you guys, and this may sound super chat, I could stop working whenever I want. I don't have to keep working, right? But that being said, I enjoy working. I'm not old enough to quit working, I don't think, but even if I did, I would still teach. And the reason the doctorate matters is because if I ever wanted to be like a dean or somebody in an academic sense, you have to have a doctorate. There's no even discussion about it until you have a doctorate. Then we can discuss if you're qualified, and then we can discuss if you have the right temperament and all that stuff. So anyways, that's the one benefit to me. Professionally, like in my systems engineering and high performance compute engineering, I'm already a principal engineer. I already know my space very well. Not my space, my working space very well, and I teach it to others. So it doesn't help me there any. Like I'm not going to get this doctorate and have my company pay me any more money. They already pay me a bunch of money. But I said doctorate, but whatever. This freaking closed captioning, man. Yeah, there's not really much benefit to me getting the doctorate. Honestly, it's just another checkbox. Um, I mean, I have, like, from when I was young, I have an expert infantryman's badge and a combat infantryman's badge, and I got those when I was 18 and 21. I'm probably never going to beat that ever. So everything else is just side quests for me, right? Yeah, bring back MySpace. You want people to call you Dr. Tommy. That's funny. Yeah. That is pretty good. People, man, if you guys will go to the Discord and just find that the abject disrespect I get. Like, we have a bot that will correct you if you try to say my name in the server. If you write SCOTT in the server, the bot, I don't care what channel you're in, the bot will correct you. And that's not me doing that. That's Fisherman. By the way, if you guys are on during the day, you guys should hang out with Fisherman. He does some daytime streams. Let me do a shout out for Fisherman at Fisherman Guy Bro. Oh, he's not even in here right now, I don't think. But anyways, there's a shout out for Fisherman, and he's one of like the mods of the server, and he's one of the guys. He does a lot of LLM stuff and stuff like that. Oh, anyways, let's get back to this real quick. So we're on a server, right? We check the general information. How did we do that? We cat Etsy splat release. There's other ways to do it. This is the way I like to do it because I'm just kind of set in my ways. Then I say, what disks are there? So I do ls block, and I can see the block devices that are there, and I do block ID, and I see maybe what's actually put on those disks, if there's anything that's actually put on there. And then I think I can do a block ID with, like, is it -V? I forget. What's the different block ID commands? There's different block ID commands. But I want to see what actual is going on in my system with mounted disks. Hey, Robodom, how's it going? DF-H on the file system. And very quickly I could see, okay, here's the stuff that's mounted locally. And then here's the stuff that's remotely mounted via NFS. And we can go start to, is it .o, is -O? I always forget the different ones that are out there. No, -O won't do it. I think it's a -T. No. Maybe it's ls block that does like a -T. I don't know. I can never remember them. But the point is, you can always man a thing if you want to read more about it. But I can see the capacity of my file system, how much is available, how much is in use, and then I can pretty quickly just like glance over server and go, that's pretty okay. That hasn't been growing too much. I have other things to measure and keep track of this, but right now, yeah, under 50% is pretty good. Typically anything under 80% is probably fine as long as it's not growing out of control. These are all shared off of some other server, which is the .25 server, which happens to be the werewolf in my environment. And then I can start to look at how things are mounted. So I mount and grep maybe I just grep for 200.25 like this. And I will only see, so mount will show me everything that's mounted. Pipe is going to take everything that was going to come out to standard out, which is my screen here, and it's going to throw it into the input of grep, which is a filter. Grep is I think it stands for the GNU Regular Expression Processor, but somebody corrected me last time, so I may be wrong about that. It may be somebody find what grep means. We could also man it. But then I'm filtering for just 225, so I only want this, right? I'm looking for this thing that I think is unique, and then now I find, okay, here's how the things are mounted. Here's lab work, opt, labs, and home, which are right here, lab work, opt, labs, and home. I see the order they're mounted in. One of the interesting things about mount is mount does show the order that things were mounted in your system. We could unmount one of these and remount it. It would show up at the bottom. So I can see options that it was mounted with. I can see where it was mounted from. I can see some of the permissions and things that happened with the mount. I see this one thing right here where, no, my system, my client thinks read, write, read, write, read, write, read, write. But one of these, I know for certain, labs is read only. So we could try to write something in there and we wouldn't be able to. Global regular expression print. There it is. There it is. Yeah, I knew somebody would get it for me. I didn't have to go look it up. So now I know my disks and my mount stuff, but then maybe I can go to, like, how used is this Rocky system? I'm going to guess he's not very used. I can do iostat-c to just see his CPU stuff. I can say one, and I just do one, and I'll get every 1 second forever. How used is this box? If you guys were looking at that, and you didn't know anything else about what any of those words on the screen meant right there, Do you think this server is under very high load? Anybody here think it's a high load system right here? No. The only red on that screen is idle. Right? Yeah, this box is chilling. But maybe I want to see... Okay, so I talked earlier about you can look at disks different ways. Let's jump up to disk for a second real quick. DF-H. I see that my system, my storage isn't almost gone, and DF-I, very rarely are your inodes ever used. Inodes are always real low. Yeah, this system's basically sleeping, yes. Disks here, and then I wanted to show you something else. Now, IOStat-D will show you your block devices. So now I can see, well, what if, so earlier we looked at CPU, so right here was CPU, and we saw that the box was chilling from a CPU perspective. What about I/O to the disks? Actual channel path reads and writes in kilobytes per second, and it's KB capital, so that's bytes, right? Is this box still chilling? Yes. Can a server have really low CPU but really high disk I/O? Yes. Yes. This is why we always check the big four: CPU, disk, network, memory. And they can be in any order, right? I typically call them CPU, memory, disk, and then network, because that's kind of closest to the high speed out. But yeah, so this box is chilling. He's kicking back. But then we can actually do some different stuff. We can do IOStat by itself, and it'll show both. And then we can do like I think it's XV. Is it XV or XE? I think it's XE. No, it's XV. And now I can do this every 1 second. No, Oh god, it's XZ. I'm dummy. And now this is going to show something else. Somebody try to figure out what this does. Watch this. Now you can read the man pages on it, or you can just watch. What do you think this one's doing? This one did something kind of weird. Watch. When I start it, this is the hint. Watch when it starts. Now watch it. This one's still only showing CPU and disk. And well, it's block devices actually. It's not just disks, it's block devices, which could be RAM disks, right? I'm not trying to trick you guys. Watch this. This one's really cool. When it first goes, it's checking. It's gonna do it's technically by checking. Have you guys ever heard this in physics? When we check something by measuring something, we actually change the outcome. You guys know that's true, right? When I checked this the first time, everything got checked, so everything was being read from. So it shows only the things that are active. Because watch this, everything had to be active for the first read. Does that kind of make sense? But then for future reads, because it basically triggers them all to check. But then future reads, the things are not active, so nothing's happening. So watch, this is Rocky 1, right? Real quick, this is Rocky 1, right? Let's let that run on Rocky 1. I'm gonna jump over here to Rocky 1, SSH to Rocky 1, and let's play around real quick. So DF-H on him, he's got a little bit of space available. So let's go, let's just here on this box, we'll say DF-H on root where we're at, and that's off of there, and he's got 2.3 gigs available. So let's do this. Let's say, real quick, we're going to do something kind of fun. We're going to say for I in backtick sequence of, and backtick here can be $ parentheses for you guys that want to do it the new, that's the more cool, hip, young way. This is the older guy way. Sequence, and I'm going to say 1 to 5. So I'm going to do 5 of some things. And in here I'll say do echo, I am doing thing, $I, right? And then done, right? So that's going to do 5 things. And the 5 things I'm going to do are this. Watch. We got 2.3 gigs, so we're going to make them a little smaller. I'm going to say dd in file equals dev 0. So we're going to pull, actually no, let's do dev urandom. So we'll actually spike up the CPU a little bit, right? And then we'll say out file is equal to root, and we'll do big file $I, because we want it to pull a different one for sure. Yeah, backticks are fine. They both actually work. Do you guys know why I stopped using backticks all the time though? is I use backticks almost exclusively when I'm just like flowing and doing stuff. And when I'm writing stuff and like working and pulling stuff out of systems and checking them, I almost exclusively use backticks. But what made me stop using backticks often was when I was writing the killer coda labs for you guys. You can't use backticks in Markdown. I mean, maybe you can escape them in some way, but hell no, I'm not going to escape something. No, 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 no. So what I use is I do the $ parentheses and it does the same. It's an execution and interpolation and drops the value there. But anyways, block size is going to be 1024K, and then count is going to equal. So we're going to do 1024K, so that's 1 meg, and we'll do count is equal to 500. So we're going to make these smaller. They're going to be 500 meg. Oh, we got to make it a little smaller. We'll go 350. And then, but I'm going to do something weird here. I'm going to say sleep 5. So there's going to be a sleep and a pause in between these, right? Let's go check our other system. Chilling, right? Everything's chilling here. And then we kick this off and let's go watch. And it's funny, there's still not a lot being written out to the disk because technically, let's look at his devices here when we rerun this. Let's go over here. Still copying, but we're not seeing the disk. Well, that's funny because this box isn't really doing because it's all RAM disks, so it should be showing it. I will let this thing finish. I'm doing thing 5. I might have said I am writing file, whatever. All right. By the way, there's our speeds if we wanted to test our speeds and then baseline that and look at that later. As an engineer, we're always baselining things, and I would take this and I would grab this and throw it in my notes for later where somebody tells me I suspect the system is slow. I compare it to what I know, right? Let's go back over here. Yeah, I did not see the output I expected, although I did see some system load because we were pulling. So I did see us pulling urandom, right? But what I did not see was the devices that I would have expected. So, oh, did I crash this box? This poor box. This poor box is. He is frozen. All right, let's go check him. If we can't get him to work one way, we go check him at the console, right? And what's happening to this poor guy? All right, let's see if we can get in here on root. All right, he's up. PS-EF grep-I for DD. Kill dash. DF-H. Oh, he's got, yeah, this box is, oh, he's hanging. He's trying. So by the way, when you do a DF-H and it hangs like that, can I show you guys something? DF-H will sometimes hang like this. So I've got a little Perl script that I run. It's not Perl script, but it's a Perl regular expression. Perl-E. And then what I'll do is I will, in there, run. I know this is hard to see because it's at a console. And I'll say while, and I'll glob everything from root of the file system, or the directory that I'm in if I want. And then now from there, I'm going to... I don't need that out there. I need it in here. Square bracket, close square bracket. In here, I can do whatever I want, and I can do a backtick for this because that's the execution in Perl, and then backtick du-sh or sorry df. We'll do df this time. Df $_ which is the counting variable, so each time we glob and rotate through the item, we'll do that. And then we'll say print. Actually, I think we can just print this. I think we can actually just print that and then just put a, I haven't done this in a while, like that. Will that work? No. Oh, and then I gotta close it out right there. Cool. That'll either break fantastically or work, but it might be hanging on the first one, and then I wouldn't get, well, I would still get one output. No. Let's do this. I think I need to just do that and then say print. Oh, I am checking $sign underscore. Yeah, that should at least print. Let's just glob this. Yeah, so I'm checking that, and then we do a df-h on each of those items. Yeah, it's definitely hanging on something. But anyways, yeah, too big to fail. What's going on? What's your question? I'm not working too hard. I'm not working too hard. Wait, what was that little tip? Question mark up. Oh, I don't know. There was some kind of tool tip showing up. It'd be unbelievably stressful when things go wrong. Most people throw up their hands. Yeah, I mean that is true. I've seen people lose it on calls. I have a prevailing thing that has always kept my. I mean, I'm kind of like the Hulk in that I'm always enraged, so you can't really put me enraged. I'm always enraged, and then that's the one thing. And the second thing that's always worked with me my whole career is they can't send me back to Iraq. So those things were always really funny to me, but those are also true. Yeah, that thing's not gonna run. I think we locked him. So guys, here's the fun thing about this environment. We can just reboot him. So Rocky can go down for the count and come back up, and he's good. Yeah, no, I've watched a lot of people like lose their shit over the years on calls late at night. I got some pretty funny ones that I think that are they're not always super appropriate. But yeah, I've heard some interesting things over the years. I've heard people get fired on calls. DUSH dash, yeah, or SH and then the $sign underscore. That would have been good, yeah, for if I wanted to see the size that was used. Let me see what the, hold on, we need to check on the wife. A lot less people. Oh, so we'll watch the system boot up, and I've shown you guys before. Werewolf is a cluster management system that sits there ready all the time to have you connect to it. When you connect to it over the appropriate DHCP, and it identifies you, it will allow you to download over iPXE your identity. So this node is a stateless node. He's going to go down and come back up, and he's going to be clean. We're going to lose these two shells to him, though. These two shells that they'll be lost as soon as SSH refreshes and finds out that he's back up. So he'll come up shortly. His SSHD daemon, so his SSH daemon will come up, which is SSHD, and then these two shells will drop, and we'll be back in the werewolf system, which is what we jumped up to him in. So. Yep. And then werewolf is, it's funny that that thing spells it the correct way. It's WEREWULF when you go to look it up. And it's by CIQ. And it's kind of, I mean, I've been here, like, my company's been deploying more and more of these clusters into high performance compute environments for people. We work often with Dell, so Dell will, sell people a new high performance compute cluster, and then my company comes in and we build everything. We build it all out for them, and we've actually started to get pretty good at it. I've only worked on this one last project, but I just built all the training for it, and then I liked Werewolf so much from jumping over to it in June that some of you may have noticed that were around. That's when I moved my lab over to all Werewolf. So in the home lab environment, we have a fair amount of Werewolf on just this one node, and that's all the lab devices. Then I have other stuff that's not Werewolf, but I have other stuff in here that's doing other stuff in the home lab. but all the Rocky boxes are very, very configurable, very tunable in the system. So that'll come back up here. The overlays are about to be finished for SE Linux, and then this will drop for me. So yeah, Amber, that's you know, it's one of those things where, like, you could probably, I mean, you could probably do it, and people, you know, it's not super hard to do, but there's already a tool. So a lot of times, like, I'll start to look at something and go, man, I could make my own fishing pole when I go out fishing every time, but this company over here makes a pretty nice little fishing pole, so I could just use theirs, right? And that's kind of like my thoughts on things, and I do really like the way that their system kind of works. The more I played with it, the more it's good. Doc, would I recommend Bacula for backup, or is better try and then come here and ask? Yeah, Doc, I'm one of the few Bacula systems administrators. I actually have a certification in Bacula. I think it's really good. I've used it for a few government projects. I've helped people set it up. It's a pretty straightforward system, and I think, yeah, I'm one of the very few people that ever bothered to get the cert. Like, you go to the training, but then you haven't. This was me showing you guys where we stayed when me and the wife were just in Hawaii. Bacula is a good tool. A couple of things you need to know about it is, I mean, it's big, right? There are paid, you can pay for it or you can get it free. The paid for version will give you support. So if your company does have some support requirements, but let's go to the documentation real quick. White papers probably. I actually can probably find more of what I want in the manuals. Let's go look in the manuals. Now we need to see. Oh man, I bet Fisherman would make his own on stream. Let's look at the console and operators guide. Let's go with the miscellaneous guide. Where's the? We'll call this the operators guide. Let's go look at the PDF for this. Let's see if they have a good little graphic on this real quick for you guys. This one's been updated recently too. That's in the last few. Oh, Doc, yeah. If you need help with Bacula, let me know. So let's see. So this, wow, this drops you right in. This is an architecture. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's go to. Let's see if they have a good architecture drawing, because I know they do have some good ones out there. All right. They do have some really good documentation, like names there and stuff. But no, hold on. Do I have to go to my own doc? I have to go to my own presentation to show you guys this. So let's go to our Prolog presentations, and then let's go up to AWS, and we're gonna go to Solutions Architect Pro. And I've made all these things, and I talk about them sometimes. Ransomware. Remember, we've talked about ransomware protection before. This was my ransomware talk from a while back. Don't worry about all that stuff. That's for people that are getting the cert. Here's Bacula architecture. This comes from their training here somewhere. Cooling like I do came here because it's live. Yeah, hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. I mean, we're just hanging out. We're not working too hard. So here's the things about Bacula that I think trip people up. Cooling like I do. All my slides are in Discord. Everything I have is in Discord. Yep. I tell you guys all the time, and you guys might think I'm kidding, but you could run into our Discord, throw everything in a sack like a cartoon villain, go like this with your handlebar mustache and run out, and I wouldn't care. Like, it wouldn't hurt my feelings any. So yeah, all the slides are there. Let me give you guys a link to it. People got here late. There's our Discord, and oh, Robodom got it already for you over there. Good. So yeah, if you want to join the Discord and hang out, this is the thing that gets people about Bacula, or the things that I don't want to say it's not well understood. It would only hurt your feelings if you don't read it. Yeah. If you turn around and sell it, I guess, I mean, good, but I mean, like, people could also go get it for free. But that's true of like all Linux stuff, right? Like all open source stuff. Technically, people can take your stuff and set up a cart right next to you and sell it, but you know, that's within your rights if you have open source, as long as you're pushing the license forward. So there you go. All right. So what I want to show you guys, though, this is the important thing, is there's a director. The director is sitting over here directing stuff. He is not doing any work. He's not really doing any work in the cluster, as far as like, the director just tells things what to do. So you will program things into the director, and the director will run jobs. It will tell things to do things, but it doesn't actually do anything itself. And this is what I think kind of messed people up a little bit. Then you're going to have a storage daemon, and that storage daemon can be on the director, right? So that's going to be configured. And the things you're going to configure with the storage daemon are the back-end storages. So are they going to be a virtual tape library? Are they going to be disks inside of the box? Are they going to be tapes and autoloaders on site? Or are they going to be out in the cloud somewhere with like S3? So the director, again, the director's over here. You're going to put jobs into the director for things to back up. That's its own little piece. The storage daemon, its piece is to get connected up to the right storage so that jobs can be pushed up there and storage can be monitored and stuff. Then on each of your nodes, you're going to put a file daemon, right? A little Bacula file daemon. And there's all kinds of ones that are written that work directly with like the individual nodes, and also from vendors, and can work on operating systems and all kinds of things. And these, so when this tells, or when these guys check in and find that they have a job to run, they no longer have to talk to the director for the rest of that job. They're going to talk directly to their storage daemon, and then they're going to go push data up. So the director is literally sitting off to the side, just controlling what's going on in the cluster, but all communication is going this way right here. The reason that's important is because the director has literally no consideration for pipes or speed. These guys have all of that. As long as you, getting a kilobyte a second to him, that's all you care about. My point is, he doesn't need big pipes. He doesn't need to be on like a fiber channel, whatever. Now, if he's part of the storage daemon, sure, yeah, then you have your fiber channel connections back to whatever, and you're doing all that stuff. On a separate Rocky server would be my wish. Now all I need is set it up. Yeah, Doc, you guys have seen my home lab stuff, right? Like you guys know I run Windows, and then I connect into all my Linux and do all that stuff. Like it's not super hard to do that kind of stuff. So, hold on, I gotta check see if the wife sent me anything back. Hold on. Let's see, where are you coming from? The wife's asking me if I want food, and I'm asking her where is she coming from, because that will determine. Also, it's like 10 at night, and I don't want to eat this late, I don't think, because I gotta get up and work out in the morning. All right. The director can keep track of jobs with either Postgres or MySQL if you want. So you can have his stuff backed up. And then over here, these are the different ways that you can manage the director. The text console is the most sysadmin-y way to do it, but you can also use a graphics console, which you have to pay for that. And then I think bweb is open source. One of these two is open source, and I forget which one. But you can use that and then have like a nice little front end. There's always space for one more pizza. Yeah. Every pizza is a personal pizza if you try hard and believe in yourself. That's a rule of life, right? All right. Where are we at here? Line 50. Okay. I got a little more time here. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can back up, and the global dedupe, that's typically something you're going to pay for if you want to have that as part of this. And I actually don't know that part. I never used that part, so I can really just talk the file daemons, talk directly to the storage daemon, talk directly to your storages, and that's really what's necessary. The director is just in there controlling when things check in. There is a certain key, it's not an API key, it's like a hash, and you put in the director's config file, and then you also have to put in the file daemons so that they can talk to the director. and then typically the storage daemon. A lot of people just build the architecture where the director and the storage daemon are together, but I just wanted to really point out that the director is its own thing. It is its own process that doesn't even really need to be running. If the file daemons know their what are they? Their schedules. They will send the data to the storage daemon. I'm pretty sure, even if this is off. And then when this comes back up, you can check to make sure that the job's completed and stuff. So there's some pretty useful, powerful things about it. Pretty good little tool. I like it. I need to set it up in my home lab and do the virtual tape library stuff. I just haven't gone around to doing it. So because I'm always doing other stuff. That's me, guys. Always doing something else. All right. Bacula's doing Bacula stuff. That's not talk we're doing right now, but then we come over here and too much of that stuff. Broken pipe. So we can go back into Rocky 1 now. Broken pipe, go back into Rocky 1, uptime, TF-H, he's back to a normal system. So we must have filled up his, and then that filled up his RAM. And that's, that happens, right? That kind of stuff happens when we're messing around with nodes, right? But anyways, I was playing around with it and showing you guys that. We can look at the memory, free-m, how much memory is there. We can also cat proc meminfo. That's way more information than you probably normally need. And this is one of those things where there's always raw information in Linux, but it's difficult to read and it's hard to parse through. So a lot of times I would recommend, instead of looking at things like this, use a tool like free-m or vmstat, and maybe we do a vmstat-1, and now every 1 second this will show us kind of something that we can get behind and go, okay, I see that I got free memory. I see that I got nothing buffered and nothing swapped. I'm seeing no swap in and swap out at any particular moment in time. I see some other information over here that I can go read the man pages to find out more about. I see runnable processes at or below the number of processors that I have. So nproc is the number of processors you have. That's 2. And if I have runnable processes less than 2, there are no runnable processes that are waiting for a kernel in this system, or a CPU in the system. Do you ever see a 3? Nope. There is nothing that goes to run on this system, according to vmstat. There's nothing that is waiting for CPU on this box. I can definitively say that watching this, right? There is nothing that is waiting for more memory because there's memory that's allocatable. Now, if I was on a box with there's a 3. That's about as high as we need to go before. By the way, every time it rolls off, it'll come up again. Hey, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Techmaster, Easy Joel. Hopefully this is useful. All right. So, yeah, always doing other stuff. Yeah. Well, when the wife's not around, I can play on here as much as I want. And I tell you guys all the time, I can't believe they pay me for something I would be sitting around doing anyways. Like, I would be playing with these systems anyways. So, we have that. We were looking at system usage and memory. CPU's very similar. We've got PIDstat, which is kind of a cool little, it'll show us what all the processes are doing in the system. And then I think we can do PIDstat dash, let's man PIDstat. I always forget. Is it PIDstat dash D? IO statistics, that's good. Dash E, process name, dash I, display the command and all its arguments. R report memory page faults, that could be useful for digging in. PIDstat-S, report stack utilization. That's kind of nice. And I can see how much stack usage we have. Do I have firewall D running on here? We do have the firewall running on here. I didn't know that. I didn't even realize I was running firewall on these boxes. Well, I guess that makes sense because we were trying to lock down the configurations and lock down the connections to them a little bit. Anyway, so PID stats 1, IOStat-C is 1, and then, you know, if we're just C1 will show us that, and we were looking at that earlier. Another one, I really like doing this. So PS-EF will dump all the processes that are running on the system to the screen. Do you guys see that? And one of the things I like to do is, and this is kind of like a poor man's, like I was saying, like how busy is the system? Does the system really do anything? Watch this. I'm gonna do a PS-EF, and then I'm gonna awk for that first column. So print $1, and if I just do that, boom, it's that whole column. And then I'm gonna sort them so they're all next to each other. And then I'm gonna do a unique to see which ones are there. But now this is the kicker. If you add a -C to unique, it'll count them for you. So now I look at that and I go, of all the processes that are running, UID was there because it was at the top of the column. Dbus, PolKit-D, and RPC are the only things that aren't root running on this server. The server ain't doing nothing. The server's chilling. How about this? If I do a DNF install HTTPD, right? Just install real quick a web server on this little box. By the way, if we reboot the box and it comes back up, it's a stateless config, so it doesn't matter. It's down. So the web will be gone. It'll just be back to the normal box again. That's real sus. This is taking longer than I think it should. But maybe I don't have. Yeah, maybe my connection's slow. I don't know. All this talking I'm doing. So now it's going to check all my package. This is metadata updates for the packages that I have configured for DNF in etc yum.repos.d. Here we go. Hey, thanks for the follow. What was that? Lever God. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. We're just kind of we're again not working too hard. All right, we say yes. And look, there's the one thing I asked it to install. Then there's the dependencies, and then there's some other dependencies. That's fine. I'm not too worried about that. And I go and I look now. Root's got a few more things running, but let's go see. Systemctl status HTTPD. Systemctl, if I can spell right. Apache's not even started. Systemctl start HTTPD. That'll only start it for now. So let's go look. Journal ctl -xeu HTTPD. Why didn't it start? Oh, hold on, guys. Why? Who here? Wait, you can look at that all you want. Somebody figure out why it won't start. I'm gonna take a break real quick. I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back. Somebody figure out why it won't start. I know you guys that have been in the lab know. You guys know if you've been in the lab. Some of you guys have been working on this system with me for a while. I'm back. I'm grabbing water bottles from my fridge here. Anybody find it? Watch this. I should have left you guys on this. Let's grep HTTPD from this log. What's the problem? Apache HTTPD is the fork for Red Hat servers from Apache. Is maintained by the Red Hat organization. But yes, what do you guys think it is? Not domain. What do you guys think it is? Actually, it might not be it. Let's go look again. Hold on. Bad username Apache. No, it is the username. You guys are right. So let's go look. Let's go look at how this thing's trying to start. Systemctl cat HTTPD. And it's trying to start with a name. Bad username Apache. So then let's cat at. Pass WD. Yeah. So it's funny. You can't actually write. So it's actually funny. Yeah. Well, no, I thought it was context too, but I was wrong. You guys are right. It is this. So what's happened is it can't start because this file right here. We should be able to edit past WD, and then let's look for Apache. There's nothing in here. So you say, well, why is Apache not in there? Because this is part of systemctl. Watch this. This is a part of I'll pop myself back on for you guys. Systemctl status www client. So the www client updates every 5 minutes on the system, right? And was I right? Yeah, the user doesn't get written in because it gets overwritten. So I'm gonna do this real quick. I'm gonna say let's see what it tried to make it. So ls-l etc httpd. Let's look in here. Huh. Guess it left it as all those. Alright, so I should just be able to make the user. But watch this. Systemctl stop www client. So the www client is checking in. Oh, hold on, the wifey's calling. Hold on. I'm not even gonna put you guys on mute. Hey, wifey. I guess I would do Burger King. Man, I'm ordering in front of everybody, so now I'm super embarrassed. I guess just give. Oh, I could just text you. No, I'm gonna tell you now. Now that people are invested, they want to know. I guess just give me a Whopper. That's fine. You said just a Whopper, like that's all I've. Yeah, just a Whopper with cheese and jalapenos. Yep, just that, and then also no, I'm just kidding, just that. Loves you. Bye. All right, that was funny. I thought the wife was gonna. Yeah, man of culture. I like cheese and jalapenos. It's pretty good. Yeah. We want to see what we get. But the way she said to me, just a Whopper, and I was like, I feel under attack. Anybody here ever see the interview? I made her watch it a few weeks back, and now all the time when she says stuff to me, I'm like, James Franco just looking disgusted. All right. Anyways, hold on. Let's fix this problem. So let's reinstall. So let's delete real quick. We'll remove it. And it'll remove everything, and then we'll reinstall it. And I want to show you guys something when I reinstall it. Let's go up to install. So we're going to reinstall it, right? Boom. It's fine. It's gonna get all the stuff. And then let's go look in Etsy Pass WD real quick. All right, see how the Apache user's there? But when I just looked a few seconds ago, the Apache user was not there, right? And did I do something? No. What happens is when you're a node, so there's two types of overlays that happen. Actually, do I have this in a... I wonder if I have this in an image somewhere for you guys. Let's go look at... Where the hell's my Ranger? It's like I could have sworn we just had behind all this. Alright, well, here it is. Alright, where are we looking here? We need, oh shoot. Brain's not working. Oh, Excalidraw. Mother effer. Let's go see if in Excalidraw, this was our thing from the other day. No, that's not it. Did I save off this? Let's load from a file. Because I thought the most recent one I did... No, shoot. I didn't save it. I'll show you guys something fun about Excalidraw though. So let's go Control A and delete it all. Control D. Well, that was duplicate. Control A, D, delete it. Let me show you guys something fun. I actually did this the other day for a project. So let's go to Werewolf and look at overlays. Right? Here's the main documentation. So if you want to document some... Oh, come on. Really? You can't take me directly to overlays? Might help me out here with overlays. There they are. Alright. So check this out. I took this right here. Right here. Right? And I took it over here to Excalidraw. So that's their write-up. And I dropped it into their little text to diagram. And I said, I want to take this and turn it into a diagram. And this is what it did for me. You could do 10 of these a day for free on Excalidraw. And this is what they gave me. And that was... Oops. This was not what I had done, so I say, no, go ahead and generate again. See if it'll make a new one, because the other one I had I liked a little more. That's okay. Let's pull this off. I think this was the exact one that I used. So let's try this one. Let's generate this one. Because it actually ended up being pretty good, I thought. Let's see if it does. Let's insert it over here. Overlays. So default profile, runtime, configured to run during boot. That's actually accurate. Runtime overlays configured to run periodically. So that's what was happening. My system was checking in every 5 minutes to pull its newest runtime overlay. And one of the things that's being written in the runtime overlay is its Etsy Pass WD file. So watch, it's still there because that isn't running. If I turn that process back on, it'll wipe this. But while it's off, while I have that process off, I can start HTTPD. So now, back to what I was trying to show you guys before I went far afield. PS-EF, sort for unique. Now I see Apache running something, and I could surmise that this is a web server. Other ways I could surmise it's a web server. PS-EF, grep-i for HTTPD. I could do ss-ntulp and look for, so I would grep for like 80, and there's 80. And that is HTTPD, and then it's got a PID, and the process ID is 9800, and the process, this is the port that's listening on. I should be able to LSOF for the I480. Yep, and then these are all the processes that are holding open port 80 or listening on port 80 in the system, right? So I can go and I tell you guys all the time, nothing in Linux, nothing in the systems world in general as an engineer is ever completely nothing in the systems world is ever completely or nothing's like, I don't don't want to say mystical, but everything always points to everything else. It's like Chutes and Ladders. If you ever played Chutes and Ladders, there's no part where you go on a chute and it just drives you off the side of the map and your character dies. That doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen in the systems world either. Hold on, I think... Let me check this real quick. I don't want that. Let's run this again. I want to see if this one does... Because I really liked the one that... that one's... Let's see what this one's generated to look like. So let's move this. Whoops. That's actually not a bad one either. So the default profile can be a runtime overlay or... Yeah. But anyway, so the point of me showing you this was that you could make these, and then you pick which one has the best, looks the best for what you kind of like. Let's do one more, because I think the one that I originally built was the best one I've seen. Has both a WW and a runtime overlay config. Yeah. Anyway, so we can do... that's okay. Now let's do another one. And you run out. I have 5 requests left today. Now I have 4. That one's okay. That's not really what I want either. I'm just seeing what it'll generate. But I don't always use them all up, so I might as well just do them. Yeah, so if you guys have never used Excalidraw, it's just one of the best little things on the web. And if you have to draw something that's secure or you couldn't show anybody, you actually can run Excalidraw in VS Code. So I'm using it in VS Code here. And you can also do it inside of, it's open source, so you could pull your own version of it and run it locally in a Kubernetes cluster or something if you wanted to. Let's go do one more. Let's find one. Let's burn up. I've never burned up all my time. So I've got more of these to generate. So let's see what it generates. You can also view this as Mermate. This one is very similar to the one I actually used when I did this. When I did this, hold on. This is very similar to the one that I actually used. Overlays are system overlays or runtime overlays. System overlays run during boot and they're part of the WW init process. And then runtime overlays they run periodically while the system is running. And the one thing that I think should also be mentioned here is they are only run periodically while the WW client service is running. Because look, this server is fine. This is running and Apache's good and everything's good. However, when I turn it back on, it's going to break because the Apache user won't exist anymore to the system. Well, actually, so what would happen is this process would keep running, but the ID for Apache would 48. It would be running as process 48 because they wouldn't be defined anymore. Actually, the web server would keep running, and this is actually fun. Do you guys want to see it? This is why we have labs, because I can sit here. This is an old saying in engineering: one test is worth 1,000 expert opinions. We could have all the engineers and all the experts here, and we could be, blowing bubbles on our little corncob pipes and going, I think it's going to do this, and I think it's going to do that. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what actually happens, right? So what I think is going to happen is this process will still keep running when we turn this service back on. But again, like, let's just turn it on and see what happens. Yeah. Because you're going to learn more from this. This is true in all engineering, and this is why administrators, Linux systems administration and administrators become engineers, is because we learn how this crap all works, right? So let's start the client up, and that's going to start up and probably run, and then I'll do let's just do a watch. We can do a watch like this on grep Apache from etc pass wd, right? So it's already gone. It's gone. So let's do a few things then. Let's do an ID for Apache. Gone. No user. ps-ef grep-i for 48. See if there's any 48s. Look at those 48s sitting there. That's a username. There's a 48. But, so is the process still running? SS-NTULP, grep-I for HPD, right? It's still there running. Can I curl 127.0.0.1 on port 80? Yep, got a web page, port 80. But by the way, I couldn't get that from somewhere else because firewall's running, right? Systemctl status, firewall D. Oops, don't need a period on the end. I don't know what I was thinking. All right, guys. Do we have to create a rule to skip that while the client is running? No, so I would actually probably, what would be best to do in this cluster is if I knew that I was going to use Apache on port 48 as is the default, I can go add that. I could install it here. I could take that one line, go put it in the Etsy werewolf or the Etsy passwd config on the werewolf node, and then it would push it out to all the systems. That would be the more clean way to do it. All right, guys, the wife's here. I heard her pop in. I got to get out of here. I got to hang out with her for a little bit. Let's go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side of things, on the YouTube side of things. I got nothing for you guys, but I can tell you that you guys can join the Discord and hang out down there as much as you want. And let's go find somebody that I'm following. Let's see if anybody's on right now. Midnight Simon's on. We're going to go raid Midnight Simon. If you don't know him, he does a lot of leak code stuff. And he's always down here coding stuff. So we're going to go raid him. And I will talk to some of you guys tomorrow. Take care.